Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and it's time for the best damn comic book podcast on the interwebs. It's time for the Comics Aficionados. I'm light. A few people here today. Not everybody has made it onto the stream yet, but we can't wait forever. I do have two wonderful guests with me already. We are expecting Skip and Tosh. We're certainly expecting Fatal J. Not sure Pele is going to make it. Now, I do want to say, right up front, Comic Quirks was supposed to join us today, but he does have like a situation going on. So if you could send your thoughts and prayers out to Comic Quirks, Josh over on that channel does amazing work. He's been on the channel here a couple times. Really like that guy. He could use the good vibes right now. So, Josh, if you're out there, if you're watching us, thoughts and prayers from my family to yours, and hopefully lots of well wishers here in the channel today. Now we do have half the panel here already. Doc, you are my co-host. You are the X-Men aficionado, or the X-Men historian, the Marvel aficionado. How you doing? Did you have a good Christmas?
I did. I'm still confused on why my brother and his wife got me an extra hard drive for my NAS, and I put it in and did the expansion thing, and it went through all the parity checks, and I didn't gain any storage. And I'm really confused by this. Yeah, so I'm gonna be sitting around figuring that out after we're done today. But I had a pretty good Christmas. Got to spend some time with family and quarantine.
Yes, we already did our X-Men year in review. That'll be live on the channel tomorrow, and I think everyone's going to enjoy that one. We had a fun time talking about all the best and worst stuff in X-Men this year, and that'll be live tomorrow.
Yeah, and it was pretty positive too.
Absolutely. And next on the channel is the newest entrance into the six-figure club as far as crowdfunding. We've got Mark Pellegrini from the Comet America team. You guys have steadily been rising on your crowdfunding efforts. You went over six figures between Kickstarter and Indiegogo, man. What's the secret sauce?
Well, I don't think there's a secret sauce. It's because I don't know what the 11th herb or spice is in this secret recipe, so I can't really tell anybody what else to do other than so Comet America 2, that was like our fifth or sixth campaign. We started back in 2019 or late 2018. So we've had to build it up gradually and slowly. And honestly, I just think it's the slow gaining of goodwill and building our fan base up by doing lots of books, getting them all out on time, and maintaining a level of quality that our fan base enjoys. So, the old-fashioned way. That's the secret. It's gumption. There you go.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I knew you were going to hit it sometime. I didn't expect it, before the end of the year, and we were definitely really happy for you guys. I do want to say, if you haven't noticed, the issues with the channel have been fixed. We are monetized, and we do have a super chat from Comics Exposed. Merry Christmas, Wes. My microphone's there. Have a great day. Hope 2021 is much better for everyone. And thank you so much. Comics Exposed is the man who provided me with this microphone all the way out here in the Philippines, and I'm very, very blessed that he was able to give me that, or to get that out here, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And he's got content up now. If you didn't know it, Comics Exposed has got his first, I think it's 3 videos. He might have 4 by now, but he's got a lot of great stuff going on over there. So if you want to go over to Comics Exposed, throw a little support that way. Definitely appreciate it, because he's supported the channel, and I really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. So thank you very much for that. Whoa, Second Street Marvel's got some secret sauce.
Oh yeah,
that sounds too dirty. He's not reading DC or Marvel anymore.
Well, then how is he Second Street Marvel anymore?
He should be Second Street Indies.
I know.
I'm not sure what happened to him, but apparently the quality of storytelling between Marvel and DC finally got the best of him. Hopefully they'll have something in 2021 that brings him back. I can't believe he's not enjoying Daredevil. But speaking of Daredevil, Doc, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about some of the best, worst, predictions for 2021. Then we're going to talk about some of the news that's going on. I've got a video coming out on December 31st, I believe. We're going to talk about all the best comics issues of the year. I've already had my best comic stories. All right, Pele. Pele Creepy. Mark Pellegrini. I don't want to confuse people. He's a regular on the channel.
I get confused too sometimes.
You read some comics this year. What did you think were the best comics of 2020?
Well, so if we're talking American comics, it's funny. There is a huge power gap this year between when I read my first comics and when I read my most recent ones. So the rest of IDW's Ghostbusters Year One miniseries came out at the very start of the year. And I think the trade paperback is still delayed because of COVID shipping. I don't know if it's finally up on Amazon. But the IDW Ghostbusters comic has been like old reliable since 2009. It's just been a good book. It did have its downtime when it had to bring in the 2016 movie characters for those mandatory crossovers, but they went away and the book got good again. The Ghostbusters Year One miniseries was a really fun read, but it's a really reliable read. I feel like nobody talks about the IDW Ghostbusters book. It's kind of like Usagi Yojimbo. It's always good. It's reliably good. So nobody really has anything to say about it. But yeah, definitely check that one out. The IDW Ghostbusters Year One miniseries is done as it's a 4-issue miniseries, and each issue is an interview, with one of the Ghostbusters, and they basically get to tell a hidden chapter from the first year of Ghostbusters. So from the movie, that part of the movie where they play this montage of the Ghostbusters rising in fame, and you can see them like running to and running from ghost busts. There's a whole bunch of stories in there that just aren't told. They're just, alluded to. And so that's what that miniseries does. It tells what happens during that montage, which is a really cool, area to pick up on. That part where Casey Kasem is doing that voiceover.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the boys in gray duked it out with a pretty pesky poltergeist, then stayed to dance the night away with some of the lovely ladies who witnessed the incident. Oh, that's the story they tell in Ray's chapter of that, and it's really cool. And Winston's chapter is like what his very first bust was, because we see Winston getting hired, and then we see him again with Ray, like in the Ecto One, but we never see what his very first ghost bust was like, and so they tell that story. It was really good. It has some parts in it where I think they were meant to allude to Ghostbusters Afterlife, because especially Egon's chapter has this kind of like not a cliffhanger, but it has this sort of story element that's alluding to something else. I don't know if it's alluding to another IDW Ghostbusters miniseries or if it's alluding to Afterlife, because that was supposed to come out this year and it didn't. I'm not sure what that was about. I'm also not sure what the future for the IDW Ghostbusters comics is exactly, since Afterlife looks like it's retconning out Ghostbusters the video game as Ghostbusters 3, which in that case would also retcon out the IDW Ghostbusters comic as the sequel to the movies and the video game. So I don't know what the future holds for that book. I'd hate to lose it because I really enjoyed it. But if Ghostbusters Year One is kind of like their way of saying goodbye and the closing out, it was a really good miniseries.
It really was. If you like the real Ghostbusters cartoon, it looks exactly like that. And then like the introduction to each book is like a character that you remember from the movies talking about how much they hate them or whatever.
Yeah, they do interviews like Walter Peck.
Then he's doing like the experiments on when he's trying to hit on the lady.
In Peter's volume, they interviewed the guy that he was doing the Zinner card shock therapy treatment on, the guy who spit out his gum because he kept getting shocked. I forgot about that. That was hilarious.
I loved it. It was like my favorite part of the whole book. It just reminded me of, that guy's from the movie, and it's got the girl.
And the girl that he was hitting on, she's like, he never called me back. Do you think I still have a chance? But there's a huge gap. After that miniseries came out, I just didn't get any more comics. I've still got my pile of IDW Ninja Turtles that I got to catch up on, but I've been so demotivated by just looking at the whole post issue 100 stuff that I just haven't gotten to that pile. I kind of want to read Last Ronin. I've been picking that up, and I'm going to wait until the entire miniseries comes out. I hear it's pretty detached from any continuity, so you can just read the whole thing.
Well, it is detached. It's more attached to like Mirage.
That's what I heard. And I've got like the first volume. Apparently I'm lucky because I was able to just get that in my subscription, and it's the first printing. I hear that they ran out of first printings really fast.
Yes,
and it became a
they
hot
underprinted it by maybe 80,000 as far as orders.
Yeah, somehow I normally don't win the lottery like that when it comes to my subscriptions. Normally, if there's an underprinting, I don't get them. Case in point, the only other thing I read this year was Sam Keith finally got back onto doing the Max Batman crossover Arkham Dreams. That had been, I don't know, it just delayed for 2 years. And so in November, he finally picked back up with issue 4. And I was waiting for it to be, done before I read the whole thing. I thought it was a 5-issue miniseries. It turns out it's a 6-issue one. So I sat down and I reread 1 through 3, then I read 4, then I read 5, then it ends on a cliffhanger. I'm like, oh, I gotta wait another 2 years for issue 6. What? So I don't know. I can't really comment on Batman Arkham Dreams. It doesn't make a lick of sense, and I don't think it will even after issue 6 comes out, because this is the Max we're talking about. I'm hoping that it ties things up, because I can't tell where it takes place, like in the continuity of the Max comic book, if it even takes place in that timeline or if it's just some separate thing. I know so Sam Keith has his own like Batman timeline, because he's done so many Batman miniseries. He's done, I have a few of them. He's done Ghosts. He's done Secrets. He did that Arkham Asylum graphic novel, and he did another one with the Mad Hatter. So he's kind of got his own Batman universe, sort of like what Frank Miller calls the Millerverse of Batman, which is like Year One and Batman All Stars, and then the Dark Knight stuff. And so Sam Keith kind of has his own thing. So he keeps referencing his own line of Batman books. And I guess that would be confusing to anyone. It's confusing if you haven't read the Max, you're not going to be able to follow any of this stuff. But if you haven't read specifically Sam Keith's various miniseries for Batman, like he's referencing characters and events and backstories that happen in those. And I think there's kind of a very high threshold of buy-in for this miniseries. You have to have read all 35 issues of the Max, and you have to have read all of Sam Keith's various Batman miniseries. And I think you pretty much just have to be a Sam Keith super fan to follow along with this thing at all. And even I, who've read all that stuff, I'm still not quite sure where it fits in. But there's still a few left.
Mark, I got a big question for you.
Yeah.
I know you're friends with Doug Ernst, right?
Yeah.
His sequel to Soul Finder, Demon's Match, is written, and it's being illustrated. It's about ready. Have you read the script yet?
Yeah, he sent me the first draft and asked if I could send him back some notes. He also sent the draft to Tim. And so what I did first was I read the draft and I sent my notes to Tim, and then Tim kind of read over my notes, compared them with his notes, and sort of like combined them into super notes back for Doug. And I don't know what rewrites he did. I won't know until I get a copy of the book. But I did on the Bunderdome, I did a video in my comic script tips series. I did it on editing. And my as far as like editing and giving back notes are concerned, my philosophy is, don't try to make the person write the way you would write. Just try to identify genuine problems in narrative structure, like plot holes, things like that, and try to just guide them into writing the best way they can write. I've had editors in the past who have given me the worst note in human history, which is like, it's good, but it's not the way I would have written it. And I want to strangle those people. So I never want to be that guy. So the notes I gave back, I was just saying like, well, there's a little bit of, it kind of needs some connective tissue between this thread and this thread over here. Or
is it good?
I thought it was very good. I think it leans in on the horror even more than the first volume did. And he's got Matt Weldon drawing it. And Matt Weldon drew about, I'd say 65% of Black Ops Volume 2, and then Tim drew the rest. So, I mean, Matt, and you've seen Matt on like Punchline and other books with Bill Williams. Matt's a tremendous artist. So, I mean, I know it's going to look good. I also know that, so Tim's a good artist, but Tim himself has said that horror is not really his genre. I think he did a great job on Soul Finder 1. But Matt specifically, his style, I think, is a really good fit for dark horror. His inks are very heavy. So I think the book is going to look fantastic. The storyline, the continuing adventures of Father Redder, and the ongoing saga of the demons and all that, like it's a very good sequel.
I saw some preview images that he sent me, and they look amazing. So
yeah.
Really excited for what Doug's going to be able to do in 2021 as well. All right, Doc.
All right.
You read a lot of comic books. What was the best comic, in your opinion, of 2020?
Honestly, I think the most fun I had were the 2 issues of Catwoman that Blake Northcott and Sean Murphy did, with Snowflame as the villain, because I mean, it's a cocaine powered super villain. It was ridiculous. It was fun. It was, a great superhero just story. I really enjoyed it. I had a blast reading it. I have a bunch of other stuff.
Issue 25 was also excellent for Catwoman.
Yeah, I skipped that, but I think like the best comic series of 2020 would have to be Amazing Spider-Man. I think it's been consistent the whole way through. It'd have little hiccups here and there, but especially for 2020, it didn't really get interrupted by a lot of events the same way that it did in 2019, I think. Where it started getting interrupted with that 2099 event. It got interrupted with Absolute Carnage. It got interrupted by something else. So we actually just got to, run with it in 2020, and we finally get, I'm not sure if I entirely love the, where we're at with it, but I really did. I've enjoyed every issue so far.
Absolutely, yeah. And Last Remains has been quite dark,
great,
pretty brutal, but it's a damn good story.
Yeah, like the one issue where what the hell's the bad guy's name? Why am I blanking on it? Kindred. Kindred just keeps killing Peter over and over and over. He kills him, brings him back, kills him, brings him back, kills him, brings him back. It's brutal. But no, I thought it's been a great run all year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been really enjoying that one. I'm a little disappointed we haven't seen more Patrick Gleason on the art, but Mark Bagley, Ryan Otley, for the most part, it's been really good.
Yeah. Now there's other books that I've absolutely loved this year. Hellions. Yeah, we'll talk about that more in our X-Men year in review roundup. But oddly enough, the Maestro, the miniseries with Peter David and Airman Peralta and Dale Keown, it's been a good series. It's kind of like a prequel to the original Future Imperfect mini, 2-issue minis of prestige formats from back in the 1992. It's a great lead up to that. I love it.
Somebody says that Snowflame drives a Countach.
He does. He drives a Lamborghini Countach.
A Lambo?
Like a night, like the late 80s Lamborghini Countach. Like he's driving a 30-year-old. Yeah, it was
your wall when you were a kid.
Yeah, the one every kid had on their wall.
Absolutely. So, obviously I've talked about a lot of my stuff. My favorite comic stories were what was an independent. It was the Kill Lock, which was actually out of IDW. Man, Mark, I think you would enjoy that one. You like sci-fi, right?
Kind of. I'm obviously more of a horror guy. Kind of like sci-fi if it intersects with horror, like Alien, that kind of stuff.
Man, if you like horror, this has been a great year. Between like the plot. What else we got out there? Something's Killing the Children. There's been a lot of really good horror books.
Year for indie horror.
Yes.
I kind of gushed about it already, but there's an Australian movie that came out this year called Relic that was excellent. I can't recommend that one enough.
Really?
Also a good year for releases from like Blu-ray horror boutique labels like Scream Factory and Blue Underground and Severin and Vinegar Syndrome. There's a lot of like really obscure stuff that got re-released or released for the first time on any home video format in the US this year that I was catching up on. So yeah, it was a good year to reinvest in horror movies.
You know what else I also really enjoyed this year? I mean, it's not done yet, and it's kind of ridiculous, but the Snake Eyes Dead Game miniseries from Rob Liefeld. It's so much fun.
Rob Liefeld, ridiculous?
Yeah, I know,
It's
right?
ridiculous. I'll give you that.
I mean,
the art's awesome. It's very frenetic.
yeah,
Always moving.
ninja demons and shit. I'm like, what the hell am I reading in a G.I. Joe comic?
Like
But
a
I
ninja
love
demon
this.
that took out Thor.
Yes, that killed
Back in the
Thor
Yeah.
thousands of years ago. Like, what the hell am I reading? I love it.
Yeah. Bronze Age Byron's got a pretty good choice here. Donny Cates' opening arc on Thor was pretty awesome. He kind of announced his arrival with authority. He had like Thor becoming the new Herald of Galactus to take on the Black Winter.
You know what? I didn't jump onto Thor until issue 7.
Well, this is a good enough place, I guess. But yeah, just with the Nick Klein art, it's been amazing the whole way through. We got any other good picks out here? We got somebody who wants Nightwing to be Nightwing. I agree with you that. Mortal Hulk. I jumped off of that. What's up, Doc?
You know what? We did get we got the finale to Rags this year too.
It's true. I was hoping to get Brian on here, but he was busy today, so he could talk about his new projects. He's got some new stuff he's working on in 2021 as well.
Yeah, and you know what? I was satisfied with the conclusion of Rags. I really loved it. That's just been a great series the whole way through. But the fact that we finally got the end of it was awesome for me.
Man, so Ryan Wilson says Immortal Hulk was his first time ever reading Hulk, and he didn't realize it was about split personalities and so dark. Now it's not always about that, right, Doc?
No,
it's just like Peter David, like 1990s Hulk that it's kind of going back to, right?
It is, because I mean a lot of like the 70s and early 80s Hulk wasn't really in that vein. It was more just kind of a Frankenstein's monster just wanting to be left alone story. But Peter David really started delving into a lot of the basically Bruce Banner's mental issues that created the Hulk in a lot of ways. And that if he wasn't so screwed up already, the Gamma Bomb probably would have just killed him. But instead it unleashed all these multiple personalities in him, and because you'd have like the Gray Hulk, the Green Hulk, the Professor Hulk, the Devil Hulk, and they've kind of, Joe Fixit came back. Like Joe Fixit was a version of the Gray Hulk from the original that kind of explained why Hulk went from being gray in the original first couple issues of way back in the 60s to them turning him green, and it actually made a story out of it because at the time it was just gray printed terribly and green printed a lot better, so they just changed the color of the Hulk and never really thought anything of it.
Wasn't the original origin that he only turned to the Hulk when the sun set, like in the very first?
So he was basically he was like a werewolf.
That's the way it's been in Immortal Hulk.
They
kind of went back to it.
And so they've I feel like Al Ewing is kind of taking little bits of random Hulk trivia and kind of weaving it into he weaved it into a story, as well as kind of trying to be a spiritual successor to the Peter David era. I didn't read a lot of Immortal Hulk, mostly because that first issue with the stupid gun control nonsense, I'm like, no, I have no interest. And then everybody kept saying it. No, it's really good. It's really good. It's really good. And then I'm just like, I'm just not coming.
Every 10 issues, he put something weird in there and you just have to ignore it.
Yeah. That's apparently what I understood. But they kind of connected it back with a lot of the Peter, because Peter David really started exploring that with and like the Gray Hulk, Joe Fixit Hulk and Green Hulk literally battling in Bruce's subconscious, and having Doc Samson in there to try to merge his, you use like psychotherapy to merge his personalities together, and then you ended up with the Professor Hulk that combined Bruce and the Green Hulk and the Gray Hulk all together.
I like that Hulk because that was what the Hulk was like in the early '90s when I was a kid. So that's kind of like my Hulk.
Yeah,
whenever I see Professor Hulk, I'm like, hey, that's my Hulk. All right.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like a year or two into me reading the Hulk at that point. And I would really like the way that it would just kind of, there was always change in the book. And I really liked it. And I stuck around with Professor Hulk for a couple of years too. But then I think it was right around the time Peter David left that I kind of got bored. I came back for it with the Bruce Jones run in the early 2000s, where they did like the Return of the Monster with like Mr. Green and Mr. Blue and all like the spy stuff chasing Bruce Banner to try to get his blood samples. And then that's the problem was once they introduced that's been kind of an ongoing thing in Marvel that they've really used too much of over the last decade, with everybody trying to get samples of everybody's blood to do sciencey stuff and basically clone them.
Oh, Spider Island, right?
Yeah, Spider Island.
All right, guys, I gotta break in here. First, I want to say welcome to the stream. Tim Lim, how are you doing, buddy?
Good morning, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I'm glad you could make it last second. I'm still not sure where Skip and Fatal J and Pele are, but they're not here. So thank you so much for filling in. I do want to say thank you very much to You Murdered That Guy for the $5 Canadian. Thank you for supporting the channel. Merry Christmas, Wes. My favorites this year: Priest Vampirella, The Last God, Wonder Woman, Dead Earth, Cimmerian, Queen of the Black Coast, and Back Issues. And I gotta say, The Last God is absolutely in my top 5 comic stories of the year. I've enjoyed that so much. I am a huge Tolkien fan. I like really anything fantasy, and I think what Phil Kennedy Johnson has done with that, very much in the spirit of Tolkien, but it's really cool. It's like 2 generations going on the exact same quest 30 years apart, and you're learning how the first one failed as the second one's going through it, and they end up going to have to pay for the sins of the previous campaign. Is just really well done, well executed. Lots of fun, and the art by Ricardo Federici absolutely kicks ass. I don't think anyone else is reading that on the panel, though, right?
No.
Jeez. All right, Tim, we're about to move on to our worst comics of the year, but right now we're talking about our favorite comics. What was your favorite comic of 2020? You can say manga if you want.
Oh my gosh. The problem with that, though, is that the manga I've read this year, a lot of it's pretty old. And most of the ones that are probably on the top list are just ongoing in terms of their sequence. As far as the big 2 are concerned, I think a lot of this is going to be really predictable. It really is a toss-up between the conclusion of Doomsday Clock and Batman 3 Jokers. But again, I mean, that's the basic B answer, I guess.
Well, you're an artist. It makes sense. Those are probably 2 of the best illustrated comics of the last 4 or 5 years. Very well done. And there, it's Jeff Johns. He's a classic DC storyteller. He gets the characters, and he's never really going to mess them up,
Yeah, and they both had their faults. I know that people are going to be like, wait, what? Like, that one ended this way. It's like, no, I get it. But really, in the last 5 years of a lot of misses and not a lot of hits, we'll take what we can get. So between those 2 titles, I think DC, their overall trajectory, I know there's a lot of tumult between the 2 companies, but I think that DC, at least, they have a foundation of some really, really solid titles that people can look at and still have a glimmer of hope that things are going not necessarily as planned, but that you're gonna find something in there you're gonna like.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think sometimes we get a little too negative on all the stuff coming up, but now it's time to get really negative, because you've given us your picks for the best comics, and I will definitely echo those sentiments. But let's talk about our least favorite. What were the worst comics in 2020?
Excalibur.
Wow, you really jumped in on that one. You're not a big fan of Tini Howard's Excalibur, weird magic fantasy comic in X-Men?
Correct. It's terrible, and it should be stricken from the human record.
Wow, it's just not from Marvel, just all human civilization.
All human history. It never happened. We need to find a way to make sure that history records that it did not occur.
We're going to burn down the Library of Alexandria just to remove that run of Excalibur.
Fuck yes.
But I'm imagining no one else. You guys didn't read the Ten of Swords or Excalibur, right?
I did.
Oh, what do you think of Excalibur?
So I agree with you guys completely. So I don't know if I can point to the worst single comic of the year, but in terms of runs, and I think I'll assist Mark on this a little bit. I think the two that are up for it, just in terms of where the franchises had so much potential, but I just think they squandered it completely with boneheaded choices in terms of who they picked to lead up their editorial and their writing teams. So everything in the Hickman X-Men series run, including Excalibur, I don't know where they were taking that. Obviously, at this point last year, I think everyone had such high hopes to.
We were hyped.
Yes, where the Hick. I mean, so Wes, I was actually on replay. YouTube was just feeding me a playlist, like a random playlist of things I might be interested in. So about 3 days ago, it was actually one of the videos that you had done at this time last year about, man, Hickman X-Men run is going to be so good, like going into the new year, because he obviously has his plan in mind. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not going to age very well looking at how things have gone. I would say that that's a big one. I don't think the expectations led up to really anything. I think it faltered. It has a strong start, but really didn't go anywhere so far. And I would say that the second one's probably the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think that Last Ronin was a saving grace. Obviously, there's a lot of not only hype behind it, but it actually pulled off its execution. But you compare that to the ongoing title, and after issue 100, it just wasn't the same. And I hate to be that guy, the naysayer, but ever since Campbell, who was very politically charged, took over with the overseeing of where the story arcs were going to go, it just hasn't been the same. And I mean, when people are like, hey, should we pick up Turtles right now? And I'm like, just pick it up to issue 100. And then after that point, you can just not.
I mean, I can piggyback on that.
101 to 104, that's where I jumped off. It's them running a soup kitchen, not talking to each other.
It's bad. And that's the thing is that, I mean, all the way up to, so Tom Waltz had a pretty epic run on that book. I mean, he wrote issues 1 through 100, plus a bunch of the miniseries. I mean, and the worst that the IDW TMNT ongoing and its tie and stuff, the worst it ever got was that it was good, but lethargically paced, but at least it was still good. Its worst crime was that it could be too slow. But if you were waiting for the trades or those IDW collection hardcovers, that wasn't a problem for you. If you're reading monthly, you're just kind of like, nothing happened this month, maybe next month. But the storylines are still intriguing and the character arcs are still good. Sometimes they just took years to develop, like Madame Null from the first Mutanimals miniseries by Andy Kuhn from like 2015. She still hasn't done anything, and it's 2021, so that story thread is still waiting in the wings. But at least the storylines are still good. After number 100, when Waltz exited, I think he's only just like an assistant editor now, and Campbell came over as the new writer. I know that every new writer wants to put their own fingerprint on it and do their own thing, which is admirable, which is understandable. They want to change the tone. They want to say, like, no, this is the Campbell version of Turtles. It's going to be distinct from the Waltz version of Turtles. But now it's lethargically paced and bad. It's this whole mutant town thing, and I'm not going to go into what I can tell are Campbell's allegorical politics for what they've decided being a mutant means now, which is, I'm not going to get into that. But
it's called the Chaz.
Yeah, it's just that, and even if you just completely are oblivious to these politics that are being put in the book, it's still boring. There's next to no action, but the biggest problem is Jennika the fifth turtle, and Jennika, it's bad enough that the main book has become the Jennika show with special guest stars, the Ninja Turtles. It's that Jennika also has 2 miniseries that are titled after her, that star her, and yet she's also taken over the main book. It's that Poochie syndrome where they've introduced a new character and they're forcing them so hard. I mean, it makes you recall with admiration how skillfully done Venus de Milo was on the next mutation. Compared to Jenica, Venus de Milo was a fantastic new addition to the cast. But it's just they're forcing this character too hard. And Jenica started out. So Jenica's this weird combination of kind of like two characters. Jenica started out in the book as an ex-foot assassin who became friends with the Turtles, but she never had any personality. She never had any storyline. They tried giving her an origin, and she'd been around for like.
I thought she was in love with Casey Jones or something.
She was in love with Casey Jones, but that never went anywhere. I think probably because the pacing of the book from Under Waltz's wing was just nothing was going anywhere. She didn't have any momentum. She didn't have any direction. They were throwing stuff at her, but she was such a boring, bland character. And so they finally decided that they rather than get rid of this character who was boring and not going anywhere, they decided that they were going to merge her with this character that Campbell had created when Campbell was an amateur. Campbell had this deviant art Ninja Turtle OC, which is like the Sonic the Hedgehog OCs, where they just take Sonic and they like paint him green and call him like Turbo the Hedgehog, original character, do not steal. Campbell had this character who was a female turtle with a yellow bandana named Artemisia. And like, this is my OC, do not steal, Artemisia. So they combined Jenica and Campbell's OC into this mutant turtle version of Jenica. And then, of course, Campbell took their OC and made the book about their original character from DeviantArt. And that's what it reads like. That's what it looks like. That's what it feels like. It's someone taking their DeviantArt's original character, Do Not Steal, and making the whole book about them. And it's almost I like Campbell's art, and that's the thing. It's like, that hasn't changed. Campbell is still a great artist. Terrible writer, terrible storyteller.
I had a good micro series. Was it Leonardo? Or was it Donatello?
Oh, yeah, the macro series. Yeah, I mean,
that was good.
I mean, that's the thing too, is that writing and drawing are two different disciplines, and just because someone's very good at drawing doesn't necessarily mean they're very good at writing.
I thought Campbell was a writer artist on that one.
That's the thing, is that he's also the writer artist on the current run. The thing is that he's not getting any better. It doesn't seem like he's whatever. They're not getting any better. It doesn't seem like they're learning anything from all this experience writing.
The derangement never gets better.
I know. It's like, normally the more you practice, right, you can't help but improve. That's supposed to be the way it works, you know? It's like you can't get any worse after practicing, and yet Campbell's just not improving. The story's not getting any more interesting. The characters aren't developing and becoming more interesting. But now the book isn't just slow, it's slow and bad. And I can't put up with it.
Pretty much unreadable.
It's largely because the book isn't intended to be a story to be enjoyed. That's the problem with a lot of comics that are being published right now. They're not stories to be enjoyed. They're learning opportunities, teaching opportunities, and that's the way that they look at it. And you can't enjoy somebody preaching at you.
Oh, and that's so okay. I guess I'll just point it out. The whole mutant town thing, because in issue 100, Baxter Stockman set off a mutagen, or I'm sorry, Hobb set off a mutagen bomb and turned a huge section of New York City into mutants. Humans got turned into a bunch of mutant animals. And they all got segregated into Mutant Town, which is like a ghetto for the mutant people. And that's been the story arc since issue 100. And it's now a slice of life series. Like, if you go read the solicit for the March 2021 issue that just came out, and it's like introducing Toka and Razar, who are going to have their showdown with Bebop and Rocksteady. But before that can happen, Jenica needs to find a lead guitarist for her new band. And that's what the damn thing is about. But the allegory that Campbell is putting into the Ninja Turtles book is that being a mutant is the same thing as being transgender. So everything is trans rights, mutant rights, and it's not subtle. You know, they will substitute the word trans with mutant, so it'll be mutant rights or trans mutantism. And it's all like, oh, you have these characters like, oh, I always believed that I was a piglet, you know, but I just never could. You know, it was my persona was a piglet, but now I am. This is my true self, and I wish everyone would just accept me as a piglet. And it's like, oh my God, this is even if you don't follow any of that stuff going on, which is impossible because it's in your face everywhere you look in every piece of media. It's impossible to be under a rock about, you know, trans rights and all that stuff. It's so in your face. It's so inorganic, the way the characters talk and the way they use these phrases and the way they talk at each other and preach to each other and preach directly to the reader. It's unreadable. It's unenjoyable.
It's not about acceptance either. It's about it's not that you need to accept us.
Okay.
It's that you need to believe in us and agree with us 100%. That's all I'm getting to. They want you to agree with them, not just accept them. So
I got that. Is there any other comics that we didn't enjoy in 2020? Apparently, thank you so much for joining me. I didn't know if you were going to make it.
I thought we were still taking the day off, but
So did I. Actually, there's a video coming up after this where I talk about how, hey, we're not doing a stream on Saturday, but it turned out it happened.
But I just happened to get on YouTube and I saw the stream going on. I was like, holy crap! I bet he sent me a message, and I looked. Yeah, oh, there it is. Crap. Oh well.
What did you think was the worst comic of 2020?
Oh, the worst Batgirl 50 maybe. Yeah, I'd probably have to say that just because of the rank of the character, how important the character is to the franchise, and how awful those panels were. So, yeah, I'd have to say that probably. There's a lot of them that I would put in the running, but that's the worst one in my opinion.
That was probably the worst single issue. It's not probably. That's the worst single issue of the year. Although we got to give some love to Brian Michael Bendis' Superman and Action Comics run. Those are essentially unreadable. And also Dan Slott's Iron Man 2020.
Oh yeah.
That was one of the worst events I've ever read in my life.
So painful.
All right, Prey. They also want to know what was your favorite comic of 2020?
Oh, The Last God.
Boom.
I mean, which one of the issues? I would say right around
issue number 10 was my favorite.
Yeah,
that's what.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke. But yeah, issue 10, 9 and 10. Yeah, oh god, just amazing stuff. That's the best ongoing series from any publisher right now. So
it's definitely up there. I think it was in my top 5. That one's great. Oh, absolutely. I love fantasy. So,
yeah, I'm big. Great. I'm a big D&D and Tolkien fanatic. So that high fantasy and it's done so well. Beautiful, beautiful pages. So
apparently, obviously, Slott's Iron Man 2020 was bad. I think we all expected it was going to be bad. They've had the Marvel 616 show on Disney Plus that kind of highlights why it was bad. But I think a lot of people had faith or hope that the new Iron Man creative team, Christopher Cantwell and Kafu, were going to kind of dial it up and maybe get Iron Man right. I don't think that happened. No,
it's kind of I don't know if they've actually made it worse, but they've not made it any better. So it would take an epic, monumental force of will to make it worse, but it's not getting any better. So. It's getting back down to the point to where Iron Man was always a D-list character, C-list at best, and he's good enough to keep his one ongoing series going, and that's about as well as he could do. But he's getting back down into that now. The MCU is basically over for him, and there's not been anything new come out. He's probably going to be Jarvis' voice, take over as Jarvis' voice or something like that. But he's just going to drop back down into obscurity. So that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah, you'll have a Tony AI that shows up to be to run somebody else's suit in the MCU. Yeah. But no, I mean, Iron Man was a D-list character that got bumped to an A-list comic-wise because of movies.
Yeah, because of an incredible performance by Robert Downey Jr. The most incredible typecasting, character casting of all time for comic book movies was Robert Downey Jr.
But after that, you're back to the same problem. He's still a D-list character with Z-list villains. Mm-hmm. And then the only good villain that Iron Man ever really had, they can't do anymore because it's the Mandarin.
Whiplash and the Mandarin, the only two good ones.
Yeah,
that's it.
So I don't know. I've noticed it feels like between DC and Marvel, it's just like you're just happy when you get a good comic. Have you noticed that as well, Tim? Are you still there, Tim?
Timmy.
Hey, that part
You-
cut out. What was the last thing that you said?
It feels like at DC and Marvel, you're just happy if you actually get a good story. Shouldn't it be the norm? It feels like it's mostly just blah right now.
It should go. Like, that's the funny thing, is a lot of people are drifting to the independent titles simply because they need alternatives. So their hobby, like what I hear a lot of people talk about is, well, if the comics aren't serving you well, then you might as well just go find something else to either do or something else to peruse. But the problem with that is that since Marvel and DC make up the bulk of those, and if your hobby is reading and collecting comics, and I use collecting loosely because some people collect them because they want the reading material, not necessarily because they want to resell them or get the best value out of them. So that's an important distinction. Well, if you're not being served with Marvel and DC, but your hobby is still reading, then you're going to find an alternative somewhere else, and that becomes independent. That to me is kind of sad. Growing up, I actually hardly read any independent titles outside of the Ninja Turtles. Everything was Marvel and DC because their catalog was just so huge. If Spider-Man had a really bad run that I wasn't interested in, I would just go and read X-Men, for example. And then you just go from title to title. But because the picking seemed to be so slim in whose works should be setting the bar for quality, you find yourself trying to find your alternatives elsewhere.
Yeah. Is that what's happened to you, Mark, too? I mean, you said you're not even really keeping up with a lot of comics now.
No, the thing is that, so I was actually watching this this channel that I like. It's called Toy Galaxy, and the host is a guy named Dan something. But he did a Star Wars The Holiday Special video yesterday, and he brought up this point that I really agree with. It's that when you enjoy a franchise that's been around for decades, sometimes the better part of a century, like Marvel and DC Comics, there is so much media in there that a single human being most likely can't read, watch, listen to it all in one lifetime. And so everyone has a headcanon which consists entirely of what they've read. Even someone who tries to stick distinctly to what's the official continuity, they only know what they've read or what they've watched. So everyone's headcanon is just the pieces you've seen assembled together. And that's kind of how I want my Marvel to be, my DC, my Star Wars. So I ignore the stuff I don't like, and I collect and I assemble the stuff that I do like, and that's my toy box of Marvel and DC and stuff. Like, I've been buying, who got the comic company that got the most money from me this year was Marvel, because this was the year where I decided to fill in all the gaps on my Marvel Epic Collection trades. And I just bought a ton of those, and they're great because they're all the classic runs from the 70s and 80s and 90s. And I bought a ton of them. I got a shelf full of them now, and I'm going through them and I'm enjoying them. But they're all old stuff. I didn't buy any. Yep.
I'll tell you what. A lot of those early first prints of the trades are getting to be really valuable.
Ooh, yeah, they're doing some new printings now. Thankfully, I put a pre-order on the Wolverine Epic Collection Volume 1 because that one was going for like $200 because it's out of print, and they just put in a reprint of it. So I immediately hit pre-order on that to guarantee it. But this was the year where I also had to pay a little. I didn't pay $100 for any of them, but I did pay like $60 for one of the volumes that had been out of print for a while. I think it was which one was it? It was one of the Spider-Man ones that had fallen out of print. But yeah, I wanted to fill in all my gaps. I only get the X-Men and Spider-Man family of Epic Collection titles. Right now, Spider-Man's just got Amazing Spider-Man, which is convenient, but X-Men has the X-Men Epic Collection, X-Factor, X-Force, New Mutants, Wolverine, and Excalibur. That's enough. I don't need any of the other ones. I can't afford any of the other to follow any other series, but I've been going back and enjoying the stuff that I do like, even if it's old. And that doesn't bother me. It doesn't mean that I have to give up on Marvel forever just because I don't like their new stuff. There's 75 years worth of old stuff that I haven't read that I can rediscover or discover for the first time. So I'm not wanting for more Marvel comics or more DC comics because there's so much old stuff that I can find. And same thing with Star Wars is that last year I read the Star Wars Bounty Hunters trilogy by K.W. Jeter, which is the Boba Fett's trilogy of books that he wrote in the 90s. I'd never read them before, and so I spent last year reading them, and they were great. They're non-canon now because of whatever legends, but to me they're canon. They're part of my head canon. They're a good read. So,
I've been going back and getting the Artifact Edition, all the Artifact Edition omnibuses, and wow. Those are they're getting stupidly expensive as far as valuable, but they're so incredible. Oh my God, they're so beautiful. The way that you basically getting exact 1-to-1 copies of the panels, as they were drawn, and it's just stunning stuff. Anybody gets a chance to look at them, you just whatever your favorite book is, whatever your favorite run is in that book, go buy the Artifact Edition version of it. And it will blow your mind. It is just it's an awesome. If you love comic artwork and you love the process, then the artistic process that they make the panels, buy one, at least one, of your favorite run, and you'll be very happy you did. But sorry, I didn't mean if I interrupted you or the.
Oh no, that's pretty much just what I was talking about. Is Wes still here?
No, he
went to go to
puppy potty break.
Oh, okay. I was wondering why. Like normally, when there's a lull in the conversation, he picks up. Sorry, I was waiting for him.
He's got a new puppy.
He's got a puppy.
And yeah, he's got a puppy. He's got it's the new co-star of the show, and I've got my little lion head sitting in my lap now. She's decided to make an appearance. Yeah, the little she's quite a handful.
How old is she?
She's 8 months old now.
Oh, okay.
So
That's the best
talking
time.
about cats.
Are
we talking about cats?
No, we're talking about
Bunnies.
rabbits.
Oh, okay.
rabbits.
I have a
And,
cat. My cat Goblin's running around.
No one cares
destroying
about
me
your
right now.
cat.
Everybody hates cats but me. Cats
Yes.
are awesome.
I love
hate
cats. I love cats. I love cats, bunnies, dogs. I don't care. But yeah, lately I've gotten on the bunny kick because I've had, we had the wild cottontail that we kind of tamed, and we've got this lion head now, and she is just so chill.
I'm just waiting for the viewer count to just start tanking
I know.
at this point.
I know. We're dying.
People don't
We're
love
dying.
bunnies.
No,
I mean, I do want a dog. I'm very jealous of Wes, and one of our pals, Skinny. He also got a puppy, and I keep seeing all these people with their new Christmas puppies, and I'm like, "Where's my Christmas puppy?"
At the ASPCA, go to the,
I know.
go to the Humane Society and get you a new puppy because they're always loaded this time of year. And
I know all the returns, which are so sad that people,
know,
get a puppy, and there's like, "Oh, I didn't know he was going to chew on the furniture, so I'm going to send him back." And the last dog that I got, my dog Moose, he was a returned puppy because he was chewing on the furniture, and the people who bought him was like, "Oh, I didn't know dogs did that. I don't want him anymore." So we went in, we swooped in, and we got him, and he's a good dog. I think he's turning 11 this year. But he when I moved to Little Rock, he stayed with my brother, and I haven't had a dog since then. So I want one, but I live in an apartment, and then I work all day, so I wouldn't be here for the dog. So I was like, maybe if I ever get, a reduced work schedule or a new opportunity, I'd love to get a dog.
See, he's probably got him right now.
I do.
There it is. Oh my God, the cuteness off the scale.
Is that a beagle?
It is a beagle. This is Aurora.
Oh, big
It's
floppy
Aurora.
ears.
Yeah.
Oh, you say Aurora?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you named her after Storm? Oh,
Absolutely. She needed to go outside. Sorry.
oh, she had to make it
That's
rain. Is that it? Okay.
Yeah, they do. If you don't take them outside, you pay for it later.
So, don't want to. There we go. So I don't want to, dwell on the bad too long, but we do have a couple creators here. I mentioned earlier that Common America Volume 2 hit 6 figures. We've got Common America Volume 3 coming out, right? Right, Tim?
Yeah, in very short time, January
Like 2
13th.
weeks? 3 weeks?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
the 13th. We were going to do it on the 20th, but that's going to be a crazy news cycle day, so we pushed it up to, by about 7 days. So that's going to be on, and I'm doing the team up book right now as we speak. So I just started doing the first page.
Oh yeah, so Tim has a script for the first few pages of Common America or Black Ops X Common America, and I'm going to have the completed first draft ready for him by New Year's Eve. I paced myself out, to do that. So yeah, we're that's going to be the book after Common America 3. So we're still chugging along.
Yeah, that's my wife. She's like, "Where's my Black Ops? Where's Black Ops?"
It's an annual book moving forward, but it's the bigger one of the two.
But yeah,
so Tim, what can people expect from Common America 3? How are you going to sell this book?
So Common America 3, it's going to be a little bit difficult because 2 is an easy sell. Because 1 is kind of like the pilot, and it's as if the second volume is actually like the real first episode, I guess. So it expanded on the characters, on a roster. We set up some new bad guys. Basically, the third one, what they're trying to do is they're trying to find the identity of the main villain from Volume 2 and Volume 1, which is Vermilion Masquerade. And what she's trying to do is she's teamed up with two of Common America's arch nemesis to try and put a wrench into their machinations. So the hunt is on. It's basically like a showdown in terms of the two parties meeting each other, and I think some people are going to be really surprised how it concludes.
So you got some big twists in there, Mark. What you do different? Is there any new big characters we should know about?
Oh yeah, I mean, so we plot these stories out in advance by several arcs in several years. The first arc is going to be the first 4 volumes, which after we do 4 volumes, we're going to collect them into an omnibus, which should be a fourth quarter 2021. But we're getting all the character foundations set and all the character arcs on their way. So people who've read Common America Volume 2, they were introduced to this character named Sylvia, who became Common UN, who's kind of like a rival for Common America, obviously. And so we develop her even more in Volume 3. And we got a lot of really good reactions to Common UN, to Sylvia in Volume 2. There's a great Twitter account. Her name's Mama Squid. But she read Common America Volume 2, and she gave us a lot of really insightful feedback, especially on Sylvia. She really thought about the character, and she hit a lot of very astute notes. She was very observant in the character's actions, the way Tim drew her, like her expressions when she was talking, and the nuances and the dialogue and things she was saying. So that Mama Squid's a great reader, gives us great feedback. But yeah, Sylvia is a character who's going to develop a lot in Volume 3 and then moving forward. We also have plans for Kimiko, who is a Common Ramen, who seems kind of like a goofy character. And she's really fun to write. Kind of wanted her for contrast for the characters that have more, darker things going on in their lives. She's a bit more of the happy-go-lucky character. But we do have plans to investigate her backstory and her upbringing more in later volumes. And then, of course, there's everything with the villain, Vermilion Masquerade, who was, eerily absent in Volume 1. Her monsters were around, but no one knew where the monsters were coming from. In Volume 2, we introduce her and, how she creates the monsters. And then in Volume 3, we really dig into her. So people are going to have a lot of people who've been following the book from Volume 1, Volume 2, into Volume 3 are going to be very interested in that.
Nice. Well, we're definitely rooting for you here, and definitely going to have probably both of you back here on the channel. We'll talk about something. We'll pitch. We'll talk about Common America 3 as well. Mm-hmm. So that's really, really exciting. I know, Paley, you got any questions? I know you're a big fan.
Oh, more critters. We need more critters in the assault teams. That's my thing. But yeah, I really like those books. They remind me so much of the energy and the ideas that came out when the early Turtles. It's just I love those styles of books, and it's very enjoyable reads. So
well, thank you. Yeah, we aim for lighthearted fun.
Yeah, it's not heavy.
No,
yeah,
people...
okay, yeah, he's knocking, he's lobbing grenades at people, but it's it's not it's not like there's body parts everywhere, and he's just knocking the grenades that are being thrown at him. So, but
yeah. So think most people channel started with 8, 8 and 12. And I think especially for young boys at that time, there was a level of violence that most kids were comfortable with. They'd seen enough like Looney Tunes cartoons and enough cartoon violence to know the trajectory of what happens next. So we like to be able to hit that sweet spot where we know we can offer up action that will be suitable for kids, but dynamic enough that adults will like it too.
Right.
Yeah,
I love it.
Oh yeah, Tim pointed out when he was telling me how he was going to draw the book. He was like, well, looking at like the old Larry Hama, Herb Trimp, G.I. Joe, or the old Mike Zeck Punisher comics from the 80s, which had people dying, like a lot of people dying and getting massacred because they were, war books and things like that. But they weren't gory. If someone got shot, there'd be like a white impact flash on their chest, but you wouldn't just see their guts and spewing out. Or if someone fired a bullet and it pierced someone, there'd be like a white, line of motion from the barrel of the gun through the person's body. But, it wasn't like Punisher Max where you see like their rib cage exploding and their guts falling out. And that's kind of the level of violence that we have in Black Ops. It's like, the foot soldiers of the bad guys, the evil team, they get slaughtered by the good guys, but it's not a blood fest. It's very it's very tame because we're not doing a rated M for mature book here.
Right.
Absolutely. So hopefully I'm expecting even bigger things. You guys had such a big success with that one, but we do have some comic book news that we're going to get to. But before I do that, I do want to say, if you're visiting the channel for the first time, you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. If you're enjoying the stream and you haven't hit the like button, what are you thinking? We already had 2 downvotes before we even started. There are people out there trying to sabotage us. Please give us a thumbs up and show us a little bit of love for the streams. We're having a good time today. Now let's talk about, there is some comic book news to talk about. Spider-Man is getting a new costume. Obviously, Spider-Man has had 2 major costumes. He's had the red and blue costume that is very iconic. Everyone loves. He also had the black costume. What are you expecting from a new Spider-Man costume?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I don't know. That's the thing. I really don't know. I'm leaning towards it being a temporary. I mean, it's obviously going to be another temporary costume. Granted, we got like 4 years of the black costume before he returned back to the red and blue webbing. But I'm leaning towards maybe something a little more similar to the you might even get like almost a Toxin style Spider-Man costume, like his Future Foundation era costume, like the white one. You might get that. I mean,
we're going to get a color change. I imagine it's still going to be a full body.
Yeah, but there was a couple of years during the slot run where about once a year they give him another different costume. There'd be different stealth costumes, different spider armor. I mean, I remember what was it, Web of Spider-Man number 100 or Spectacular Spider-Man 100, where he had that one that looked like he was wearing hockey pads, but it was all silver and shiny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they made an action figure of that one. I remember that.
Yep. So you're going to get that. I'm betting that's going to be, they went through a period where they were giving him a lot of different costumes. None of them stuck around for more than an issue or 2. And I'm hoping that this one, if they're going to make a big deal about it, then I hope it sticks around for a little bit. But at the same time, I really don't like them screwing with his classic costume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that they're going to possibly follow more in line with the movie. Whatever the movie costume is going to be, they might go along with that, which I think will be a play on the black costume, maybe black and red, black with red highlights or something like that.
But then you're getting too close to Morales.
Yeah, but I mean, just like maybe an inversion of the way that Morales' colors are, or something like that. I'm not sure.
It could be, but I'm leaning,
that would look more like Scarlet Spider.
Because essentially, Spidey's had 3 main costumes: the black costume, the classic red and blue costume, And then the one around the time of from post Onslaught, like the Ben Reilly era and beyond costume, where it was a little more 90s style, but it was still just a minor variation on the classic costume. Hell, we might even see him go back to the Superior costume.
As long as he doesn't get that metal one that was like red and gold.
The Iron Spider costume.
Oh, I hated it so much. I think that one was that Civil War when he lost that?
Yeah, that was Civil War. And then they ended up using it in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think, Mark? Is it a good idea to change Spider-Man's costume? It feels like it's a little too classic.
That's the thing too, is that, I mean, Spider-Man's costume has, it's had little like small changes. Like sometimes he's got the underarm webbing, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes his, like, Mark Bagley will draw him with humongous eyeballs that take on his whole mask. Sometimes he's got little squinty ones. I don't mind the minor details changing. And I don't mind the full costume changing if it's made clear that it's kind of a limited time thing, which it sort of always is. But when it's constantly changing, it feels like I'm not reading the main Spider-Man book. I'm reading Toy Biz's spin-off Spider-Man book that's made to sell the toy line for Spider-Man. It is not part of the main storyline. And it's like the Iron Man cartoon from the 90s where he had like a million different sets of armor for, like, I've got my stealth armor, I've got my underwater armor, I've got my outer space armor. He feels like it was less Iron Man and more Centurions, Yeah. And I like toyetic comics when they're supposed to be toyetic comics, like when I'm reading Transformers or G.I. Joe and all of a sudden, like, new characters show up and that they're new toys being advertised. But that's my level of expectation for Transformers and G.I. Joe and things like that. When I'm reading the main Spider-Man book, it's not, even though there's merchandise, it's not supposed to be a toy shilling book. And when it reads like one, I kind of check out and, like, no, this doesn't feel right. That's not the way Spider-Man's supposed to be written. I remember Larry Hama had a run on Batman way back in the day, I guess in the 90s. And he did the same thing where, like, every issue Batman had a new bat suit, and it looked like something from, like, the Mattel Batman line where it's like, it's new Night Strike Batman with net launching action and stuff like that. And, like, he would be wearing a bat suit that had, like, crazy, hot pink color stripes on it that served no purpose. It's just like, I know you're writing it that way, Larry Hama, because you wrote G.I. Joe for 20 years and you know how to write toy comics, but Batman, the main Detective Comics book, it's not a toy comic. Don't write it like that.
Maybe we'll get the Spider-Man with the white logo from, or maybe hell, give him Kane's costume, or the Spider-Man, the more recent Spider-Man 2099 costume.
I don't know. Does it feel like Last Remains is heavy enough and the impact is going to be heavy enough that it's going to warrant a change in costume? It kind of feels that way to me, Dot.
I don't think so, though. I mean, unless he's going to literally change his identity, like when he became the 4 different heroes with, like, what, Prodigy and Bullet or something. Do you remember that when all 4 of the Spider-Man
Ricochet
books? Yeah, Ricochet. There were 4 different characters. They were all Peter Parker, though, and he was just being 4 different superheroes, and none of them were Spider-Man.
Oh, man, that's...
Yeah, they were called the Slingers, and then they ended up becoming their own team.
Slingers.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a deep cut. I forgot all about it.
Something worth forgetting.
But it's like, what was that? There was that Punisher arc, I think it was from the late 80s, early 90s, called Suicide Run, where he had, like, Team Punisher.
Yes.
Because, like, there was, like, a Lady Punisher, and there was Yup Punisher, who was, like, a yuppie Punisher, and there was, what was his name? It wasn't Slayback. It was, like, Outlaw, who was the Black Punisher. And it was like, oh, yeah, there's a whole team of Punishers. I'm like, no. Vendetta, that was her name, the Lady Punisher, Vendetta.
Kind of goes against the theme of the character, but I do want to say thank you very much to Ryan Wilson for the $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I know it feels like it's been so long since we were monetized, but thankfully this week they finally got it fixed. And he says superhero comics will continue to get worse because the creators don't understand what heroes are. Now, Mark, you are a writer.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that's how I feel a lot of times when I'm reading superhero comics today. What is it that they don't get about superheroes? Do you think they just don't like heroic characters, or do you think they want every hero to be, so flawed like everybody else that it kind of ends up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's one of those. Favorite. It's kind of a weird dogpiling thing where, like, yeah, the original appeal of the Marvel hero back in the Silver Age was that they were flawed. They weren't Superman. They weren't Batman. They weren't Wonder Woman. They were Peter Parker, who got picked on at school and got picked on by the media, and Spider-Man was his outlet. They were Bruce Banner, who was literally an EC Comics monster. He would transform into this thing that he couldn't control. And somehow he was also supposed to be a hero. There were the Fantastic Four, who were literally freaks mutated by outer space that turned into, and everybody got all these cool superpowers except for the Thing, who got turned into a monster, and so his life sucks. They all had that drawback to them. But the problem, I think, with like 75 years of one-upsmanship is that the next writer wants to pile on a little bit more, and the next writer wants to pile on a little bit more. And that's how you end up with heroes who don't act like heroes who are just really awful people. They go from people with problems to people who are despicable. And
they turn into space Nazis.
Yeah, they turn into space Nazis. There's always that you bring up, Hydra Cap. There's always that, writer who wants to come in, that Bendis who wants to come in, or that Mark Waid or whoever, and wants to, like, I'm going to reinvent the character. I'm going to change everything you know about them. And Marvel's media machine or DC's media machine, they're going to plaster that all over their advertisements, for shock value. And yeah, it's going to raise sales for 1 month, and then it's going to completely decimate this character's ongoing narrative for decades to come. And so you've got Hydra Cap, like, Hail Hydra, I was a Nazi all along. And then they have to go jump through hoops to try and undo that later on because they aren't thinking ahead. They're like, okay, well, we'll just say that Cap was a Nazi all along. There was a Hydra agent all along. Like, okay, that can't last forever. How are we going to restore Cap's honor and restore his original history? Like, I don't know. We'll do something with the Cosmic Cube later. I don't care.
Oh, I don't think they even thought that far in advance.
I know,
think that what they were doing is, we're gonna tear Cap down, and people are going to be on board with it because they're just as woke as we are.
Yeah,
and then it's like, no, not even a little bit.
Or Aubrey Sitterson's G.I. Joe, where he's like, we're going to rebuild G.I. Joe as a socialist unit instead of a defender of freedom. And they kind of forgot that the only people reading G.I. Joe comics are guys in their 40s, and a lot of them, who served in the military, and that didn't go over well. And that ended up getting that entire line canceled. That's tanked that entire IDW G.I. Joe Hasbro universe because they did something so bad. But I think writers are just so cynical now. But I kind of think that, like, Patient Zero, or that when the strain first started, was 1980s Vertigo Comics. All those European writers who were outside of the American comic superhero system, they were outsiders looking in. They all had nothing but contempt for American superheroes. They all thought that they were silly and stupid. And so when they were brought on to write all these, American-style superhero comics, their first instinct was to deconstruct those comics and point out within the sanctity of the narrative itself how stupid the idea of costumes and radiation doesn't give you superpowers, it gives you cancer, or like costumes are stupid, like changing in a phone booth, that's dumb, code names, that's stupid. And there's just this complete deconstruction of all these superhero characters. But those books, all those books by Warren Ellis and Alan Moore and Grant Morrison and Mark Millar and Neil Gaiman, all those Europeans making fun of American comic books in the 80s, those got such high praise that they became the standard for everybody who wanted to write comics afterward. And so we can't get sincere comic books anymore. Everyone wants to write the next Watchmen or V for Vendetta or Sandman, where it just deconstructs superheroes and points out how lame and stupid and silly they are. And that makes these comics no fun to read. That's kind of why you have to go to indies, because that's where the people who are outside of that, which is funny because there's these indie writers from Europe who ruined mainstream comics. Now it's indie writers now who are trying to write more, palatable comics that take superheroes, I'm not going to say seriously, but they take them sincerely. There's a difference between seriously and sincerely. But unfortunately,
there's a great super chat there by Southern Comic Geek.
I'm about to get to it.
Go right ahead. Jump into it.
So, Southern Comic Geek, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel. He says, I wish the comic creators as a whole had a love for the characters they were writing and drawing like Dave Filoni has for Star Wars. Look what that's produced. Now, apparently, I know that you're an enormous fan of The Mandalorian. I saw your tweets about the finale. Is this your feeling that we need someone that really loves the character, embraces what they are to bring comics back to where they were, like Filoni is doing with Star Wars?
Oh yeah, you got to have that passion for what you're writing, and that's oh my God, nothing has happened to Star Wars in the last 40 years, 37 years, whatever that touches that episode. The end of that episode, it was just I've seen videos. We're talking about entire crowds of people watching that episode at the same time, and the cheering and the screaming and the craziness and everything like that. It blew everybody's mind. Blew my mind. I wasn't expecting that. This is the last thing in my mind. And it's a low X-wing. Oh, we're saved. Boom. And
I thought it was going to be the fat X-wing pilot that they showed earlier in the season that was going to come in and save the day.
It was. Of course, I had the suspicion at that point because it's an X-wing. Who flies X-wing everywhere? I said no. I immediately put it out of my mind because I'm like, this is Disney Star Wars. They won't do anything that cool. And they did. And it just, my mind blown. My wife's crying. I didn't cry. I was on the verge of tears. And just amazing. We need people in comics that love characters like that.
Also, Dave Filoni, when he got his start on Clone Wars, he was literally working hand in hand with George Lucas, the creator of the series. So he's got the reverence for the characters, but he's also there with the creator of the thing. He's not going to go destroy his friend's work, where you get the feeling with Rian Johnson and maybe J.J. Abrams and some of the other people that work on Star Wars that they could really give two craps. They just wanted to put their spin on it.
It really
and Jon Favreau. I'm just going to say, Jon Favreau, everything that man touches, he puts passion into. He puts love for what he's doing into the work that he's making. And Iron Man, saw that with the first movie, Iron Man. That in my opinion is still stands the test of time as one of the greatest Marvel movies, greatest MCU films. Not because of the technical excellence and all of the kind of stuff, but because of just how impactful it is and just how in touch it is with the character itself. And he loves it. He loves that. You can tell he loves working on The Mandalorian. You can tell that he loves the whole Grogu saga and he loves Luke Skywalker and all that. And he and Filoni are just like going, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to make this. We're going to make Star Wars great again. And boy, they did. And
well, that's the difference. Is like you can tell when someone who has been hired to make a new Star Wars movie or write a new Batman comic or whatever, when they love what they're adapting, or if they have contempt for what they're adapting. Like Filoni loves Star Wars, and that means he already likes everything about it. He doesn't think Star Wars is a problem that needs to be fixed. It's not broken. He's just going in and telling good Star Wars stories. But whereas the sequel movies or going into other things like the 2016 Ghostbusters movie or things like that, they're created by people who don't like the media, who don't like the source, and they feel that they need to fix it. Like, oh, this movie is problematic. I'm going to go in and I'm going to fix it and make a correct version of it, and then it ends up being something awful. Or you get someone who makes a Star Wars movie and is like, I don't like these characters. There's too much white savior. There's too much mighty whitey stuff going on. There aren't enough strong female characters. Ignoring like Leia and characters like that. I need to. I'm going to fix Star Wars and make it better by correcting everything that was wrong with it.
If people had read the comics,
nothing wrong with it.
If people read the comics, they would know how strong that Bo-Katan is. That character. Talk about a strong female. Oh my God! She's just amazing. In the comics. And
heck, if they wanted another character, there was Mara Jade, who had a huge long run in the novels and comics, and she was a fantastic character.
And I loved all those Legends comics. They're just absolutely incredible. And the the spin-offs for the cartoons and the Clone Wars, and it's just there's so much great storytelling that was going on for that, and I'm glad that they're going on board and they're pulling parts of that back, the better parts of it, and it shows that there are people that paid attention to what was really going on back then that was really good, and we need to get that back into the timeline.
Absolutely.
And,
so I do want to say thank you very much to Southern Comic Geek for supporting the channel. It means so much to me, especially you're going to have some news on the video that's going to come on tonight that might give you some insight to that. Now, I do want to say thank you very much to Ryan Wilson for the $4.99 super chat. Heroes used to be flawed, but their morality wasn't. They would always, in the end, do the right thing. Now, we do have a new panel member. We thought you were going to be here at the beginning. Obviously, he is in California. He showed up a little late. Skip it, Tosh, back on the channel. What do you think about what Ryan Wilson has to say about Heroes?
Let's see. Heroes used to be flawed, but their morality wasn't. Now they would always, in the end, they would always in the end do the right thing. Yeah, for the most part, I think that's shifted a lot more now. Based off a little of the previous conversation, a lot of writers come in and see that an issue with the character, or that character is too boring, or maybe they were familiar with the character, but it didn't have they didn't personally have a feel for them, and now that they're in a position where they can write the character, they're going to take that approach. You're not interesting enough, or you're not flawed enough, which makes you not interesting enough because it's very predictable about what you're going to do. So I can agree with that. It does speak a little bit to where we are and the times that we live in, and where people are morally, in the world, I believe, but not everyone. That's a select few people, but I think it's true. If you read enough Cape books, especially, you get that sense, and it's I believe it's a little unfortunate, especially as someone coming off of just watching Wonder Woman 84.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later.
So I just ignore the fact that I said Wonder Woman 84. but yeah, I can see that, Ryan Wilson.
Absolutely. So I do want to say thank you very much, Ryan Wilson, for the $9.99 super chat. He says they bring heroes down to the human level, i.e. Tom King's Batman, I believe is probably what he's referencing there. We're supposed to look up to heroes. What happens when our idols aren't anyone to look up to? Grant Morrison's Flex Mentallo covers all of this. Tim, you've been doing comic books for quite a while. You used to illustrate lots of heroes for T-shirts and things like this. What is it? What is the mentality? Why do they want to bring the hero down to our level and show them just making the same mistakes and not being like there's supposed to be morality tales, right?
Well, there's two ways to approach it. So one is the subversive angle. I'm not going to go into detail on that because that's a video on its own, which is, I guess, it's more nefarious in its nature in terms of, I think a lot of these writers are doing it by design. They're intentionally subverting expectations, and they're trying to bring the characters down for ulterior motives. But I think the other one is the more prevalent one, which is the angle of deconstruction. So you covered it on your channel in a video. It was actually one of the best videos I've heard, because I think it was you and Perch talking about certain books that are hailed as classics, but the damage they did moving forward was irreparable, simply because everyone was trying to copy that model, when the idea was that the reason they're classics is because they're standalone. You learn from them, but that doesn't mean that you pattern everything after them. So with the deconstruction model, what they're trying to do is they're trying to tear the character down because they think it makes for really good dramatic storytelling. Now, that's true. You can do that. But yes, you have to rebuild them. So it's kind of like when you get like an intricate watch and you want to know, how was this made? You take it apart. You look at all the fine mechanisms in it, but it's not going to be worth anything if you don't reassemble it. And that's, I think, what had made Marvel Comics so enjoyable. What Mark was saying before was that you had DC and they had their pillars of heroism. They were basically living myths. And what Marvel did, for example, with Spider-Man, was you take that that monomythic character, but you see how his life works on a street level. But at the end of the day, you always knew he was going to do the right thing. So you were able to introduce that level of a human aspect to the character without bringing them low. And I think a lot of these writers, they were influenced by a lot of classic storytelling, which in a lot of times was gritty, was dark, and was deconstructionist. But they forgot that last component, which is you have to rebuild the character after you're done playing with him or her in a sandbox.
I don't disagree with that at all. However, I also think that it also comes down to the mentality of the writers. They are deeply flawed, deeply damaged people in a lot of cases. And them writing people that are better than them is difficult for them, because then it actually makes them address the fact that they are flawed, they are deeply damaged people, and they don't want to get better. They don't want,
sorry.
Yeah, they don't want to improve themselves. And it doesn't, because superheroes put a mirror to us in a lot of ways and make us look at where our flaws are. And to write characters like that, it's the same thing. It puts an even bigger mirror to the writers themselves. And when they see how lacking they are compared to the characters that they're writing, they can't handle it, and they can't handle the fact that they're not doing anything to make themselves better. They want to claim their own perfection as flawed.
So
well, before Mark picks up on that, so he and I have a friend who gave us a very good piece of advice. He said that you always know who a good writer is because you read a work by them, and when you're done, you know more about the characters than when you started. You know who a bad writer is because when you're done, you walk away knowing more about the writer. And I thought that was a very, very good, like probably the most important rule of thumb for us as creators, because we don't want to have a reader think, well, this person believes this and this and this, when the characters should stand on their own. And I think you're absolutely correct. There is a mentality in our culture right now, and I think it does play into a bit of identitarianism, which is this concept of you cannot enjoy something unless it looks like you, unless it's part of the tribalism that you're a part of. And I think it's something very foreign to people in this particular panel, because we're older and we grew up in a time when the idea was that everyone is different, and that's fine, and you can find something in that difference to enjoy. I know personally, for example, I was talking about this on a stream a few nights ago, but I grew up reading G.I. Joe, and I like Snake Eyes. I like Storm Shadow too, don't get me wrong, but I like Snake Eyes. And there was never a part of me that thought, I can't enjoy this character because they're not Asian. I only can enjoy Storm Shadow because he's Asian, and even not the same ethnicity as me. He's Japanese and not Chinese. And it came up because in the Snake Eyes movie that's coming out pretty soon, I know they delayed it, they changed the race of Snake Eyes to Asian. And I just thought, I don't know who this is appealing to, not unless we have created or indoctrinated a generation of young.
It's like part of the character's growth, though, is that he had to endure it. You know what I mean?
Yes, he was the fish out of water. So in a way, his ethnicity did matter, in the sense that not only did he have to overcome a cultural boundary, but he had to overcome a racial boundary as well. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. Honestly, as a kid, I didn't really care. He was who he was, and I thought that it made for a better story. But what Doc is saying is absolutely true. I think these writers, a lot of them are very young, and they've been told for about 20 to 30 years of their lives, like, you can only create a character that's appealing to you, that is you. And I don't understand that. I mean, for example, Mark and I, late in the game, we decided, hey, we see a lot of people complaining about female characters. Let's do a book with female characters. And obviously we don't identify with these people. There's part of our experiences that we certainly interject into the plot, but it has nothing to do with the characters. I don't identify with any of them personally.
So,
these
Mark,
are-
what's
this
interesting is there's also an element there, and I think that's where we get like these sensitivity readers and stuff like this. Is you're not supposed to enjoy or celebrate anything that could potentially make anyone else feel bad.
And that's what I really don't get is that I think, like Tim said, there's been 20 or 30 years of writers who the philosophy is to write everything the way you would like it or the way you would not like it, and everything you write is a reflection of you. And that has taught readers to think the same way, that if a character in a book says something insensitive, that must mean the writer agrees with that character. No, that's not the way it works. I mean, Stephen King wrote I don't even think I can. I don't know if this channel is PG, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff in his novel It that's not in either of the movie versions. That can never be in either of the movie versions. That's really gross and bad. But I don't think that Stephen King supports what he put in that book. That was just something that was in the book that was within the narrative supposed to be gross and bad and weird.
He's going back now and disowning it. I mean,
I'm sure he is. I mean, I've seen him on social media.
It was a different time in my life, and
I
if
was
I had to
fueled
go
up
back,
on cocaine. I didn't remember what I was doing. Yeah, but that's the thing is that not just that, but I mean, movies. If I see a movie and there's I don't know, like Friday the 13th, and I see Pamela Voorhees or Jason, one of the sequels, going around hacking people up. I don't think the director, Sean S. Cunningham or Steve Miner in 2 and 3 is a serial killer who thinks that anybody who smokes weed and has premarital sex needs to die. I don't think those characters are a reflection of the morality of the director. I think the director and the writer is just telling a story with characters who are three-dimensional enough that they have their own thoughts, their own integrity, their own morality, their own likes and dislikes. I mean, there's a part in, and this isn't going to be a spoiler for Common America 3 or anything, but there's a part where one of the characters says that they don't like this food. I like that food. So just because this character I wrote doesn't like this food doesn't mean that I don't like it. It means that that character within that story doesn't like that food. But now, if you read a book and a character says, "Ugh, I hate vanilla ice cream," like, oh, that must mean the writer hates vanilla ice cream too. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work that way.
And I do want to interrupt, and I want to say, welcome to the stream, Fatal J. Where you been?
Lord,
this place real quick. This is a place where somebody just woke up and don't know where they're at right now.
You agree?
when have you ever known? When have you ever known where you are? That's what I want to know.
Pele, I want to be your best friend. I want everybody to know that Pele is one of the richest guys. Because if you seen his Christmas tree this year,
I am not.
Jeez Louise.
Well,
It's a nice tree. We got that a long time ago. It's a nice tree. Yeah, it's a pretty tree.
So
okay,
I do have to interject. I have to interject and say thank you very much to Marvel 2099 for the 10-pound super chat. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is well. Great to be able to super chat and support the channel again. Great videos, Wes.
Oh, super
Thank
chat
you very much
back.
for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. And thank you for coming back and sticking with us, and glad that we could get all this going. Now let's get into something that Fatal J can talk about. We got a couple of other things. I know I saw your tweet. I saw you on the Twitter sphere.
To me?
And I saw you had a ticket stub to Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah, I'm going to quit tweeting on Twitter. Twitter is blowing my mind right now. It's driving me crazy.
Well, did you enjoy the film?
No, it wasn't good.
It was bad.
It wasn't
It
worth
was
the
a
theater
bad
experience.
Let me tell you something. The first movie, it was off the hook. It put me on an epic, amazing journey. This movie here, romantic, what they call it, rom-com? It was some rom-com type
Is it
stuff.
rom-com?
Yeah. All that I
It is
love you
sweet.
and I need you in my life. And I understand you need that for a story, but come on. What was I watching? I don't know what was I don't understand what I was watching.
We were disappointed.
You were
We
watching.
disappointed.
You were watching a CW show that had sex with a sci-fi original series, original movie,
Yeah.
and that's
Like
what you
Sharknado?
got. Yeah, like I mean, it's look, dude. There's some scenes in there where I thought I was watching like the
Hallmark
Bionic
Channel.
Woman or the $6 Million Man from the 70s.
And
like,
then peep this, they ruined continuity Because at one point, and spoilers, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, she was flying. And I understand she flies in the comic books. I know that. But in BVS, she wasn't flying. And in Justice League, she wasn't flying. So how are they going to explain that?
Somehow she can fly at the end.
She should have flown to Europe.
Yeah.
The front lines. Why did she need to?
Why didn't she fly over the battlefield? You know.
Yeah.
Her wig, the wigs that they put on her in this movie were some of this is shit that makes like Stephen Amell's wig in Arrow looks good compared to I'm like sitting there going like, that is the worst wig I have ever seen. That is so obviously a wig.
Well, tell me, are any of the DC movies even in continuity with each other anymore? Does continuity in this DCEU cinematic universe even exist anymore?
The Batman isn't in continuity. That's like an Elseworld story. But the other DCEU properties, other than the Joker, are supposed to be.
Okay, so Justice League still counts, and Batman v Superman counts.
Justice League don't count no more. Even Patty Jenkins said it don't count no more.
Yeah. I can't
Not
keep up with
League. Nobody wants that shit in the DCEU.
You know what? Honestly, nothing matters. Nothing matters, and everything's terrible. That's
so Wonder Woman can fly now because nothing matters.
Yes, and
Killmonger's got a point. She was wearing her flying tiara.
Yeah, that was what it was. The flying tiara. No, like the costuming choice for Cheetah looks atrocious.
Scary.
Atrocious.
It's a bad casting choice.
Well, it's not even that it's a bad casting choice. I mean, look, Kristen Wiig, as obnoxious as she is, I've seen her in worse, and
she's a mediocre comedian. She should not be an action star.
Yeah, well, she really wasn't. But like, I get what they were doing with her, but at the end, it seriously looked like some like sci-fi original movie, like costuming. It was
as bad as the Scorpion King. When the Rock finally turned into a scorpion.
Almost.
Ooh, from the Mummy 2? Yeah, the Mummy Returns. That was bad.
At least that was campy goodness. That was campy goodness. This doesn't have that.
He knows what he's doing.
After a while,
this doesn't have that.
After a while, the movie turned into the Pedro Pascal show.
Yeah.
The Pedro Pascal movie instead of the Wonder Woman movie.
Like,
they had to talk about how bad Trump was. So he used the Trump version analog for that.
It ruined the movie.
I started live tweeting while I was watching it last night, and there were so many, like, and then Max Lord steals a rock. Oh, and now he becomes a genie.
He become a genie, bro. A genie.
He just basically he
Aladdin,
wishes. Yeah, he wishes to become a genie.
Everybody in the world got wishes now.
Honestly, the thing that bothered me the most about this is there's no overcoming anything. Nobody has to overcome anything. Okay, so Wonder Woman makes her wish that she didn't realize she wished to get
Steve Trevor.
Steve Trevor back. And so he doesn't really come back. He comes back in another person's body. But then you only see him because she only sees him, like Chris Pine's face, even though it's in a different dude the entire time.
Is it like Eric Bischoff when he was looking in the mirror with Hulk Hogan, but only Hulk Hogan could see the Ultimate Warrior?
Exactly.
Yeah. And
it's not like that last season of Sliders where they changed the main character's actor, but all the other characters knew he was the same guy, but the audience just saw a different actor. I think they did the same thing with Beetleborgs.
And they tried to pull Iron Man 3. Instead of her being in that Wonder Woman suit and being Wonder Woman the whole movie, you just focus on Diana, which was lame.
Yeah,
it was lame.
They were keeping the budget down, obviously, and more than likely, Gal Gadot didn't feel like wearing the makeup and the costume and everything, the whole full get up the whole time. Yeah,
Good job.
I thought we'd get a whole bunch of that golden costume with the wings and shit, but no.
Well, the thing is, like, and that was okay. So near, like,
Isn't how that one girl, she ruined the X-Men series when she refused to be Mystique anymore.
yeah, like
Jennifer Lawrence.
like Rebecca
Jennifer
Romaine.
Lawrence,
When,
God.
when Jennifer. Well, Rebecca Romaine did it for the third movie.
Yeah,
That was
it's
awesome.
Jennifer
Yeah, but she
Lawrence.
was a small character. By the time Jennifer
Yeah,
Lawrence was
That's
in
true.
the Age of Apocalypse, she was like the leader of the team.
Yeah,
Jeez.
and the so she wishes Steve Trevor back. So over time throughout the movie, she starts losing her powers because apparently the genie rock wish thing takes
There's a
away.
cost.
Yeah, that's the cost that it
That's,
charged.
that's always the parable with the genie.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but even then, all she has to do at the end of the movie is renounce her wish, and she just gets her powers back instantly.
Mhm.
Did it go?
Almost.
What
It might as well have.
And the little music. She got a guitar.
And then so then she leaves where she's at to go and like just starts running, and then she learns to fly. But then she's also doing this like Spider-Man thing with the whip and the lightning, and I don't get
She's
that.
riding the lightning.
Yeah, she's riding the lightning. But then like she literally catches an airplane with her lasso, and it's flying her. She's basically like flies halfway across the fucking country. But all she ended up was going from one side of DC, like Washington D.C., to her apartment on the other side to go get the wings, and then flew, like, so she basically just went.
All right, Doc. I feel like you're lying.
But now, Doc, tell him this point. Okay, tell him this point, Doc. Okay, remember the Steve Trevor illusion guy?
Yeah.
Why didn't they explain if he was a pilot that knew how to fly a plane? Because remember they got in the plane and just started flying. Remember that? They didn't explain if that dude was a pilot.
Well, he was, because Steve Trevor was in his body.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's not the same type of plane. How would Steve Trevor know how to fly a modern plane?
I know.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, I guess some of the things in it, like, he didn't have to do a lot. He just had to get it off the ground and aim it in the direction he wanted. So look, I don't know. I'm not a pilot. I've never flown a plane, but I can assume that they're not completely different, because he flicked a couple buttons and switches and stuff and they didn't do anything. And he's like, so he was kind of like using process of elimination to figure out how to turn the damn thing on.
Honestly,
All right, Doc, I got it.
It's one of those movies. Oh, I'm sorry, real quick. It sounds like one of those movies where they had 5 different drafts from 5 different writers for 5 different plots, and they're just like, well, which one do you want to use? I don't know. Let's just use all of them and just like combine them into one movie, and you end up with a huge mess.
It was a little Spider-Man 3-ish.
Yeah. So I do want to say thank you very much to Ryan Wilson for the $4.99 super chat. Jeff Johns and Patty Jenkins were credited with writing this. John's responsible for a lot of the cringe in the film. Obviously, I don't know this. What are your thoughts?
I think it's Jenkins. I think they let her have a lot more control on this one because of the success of the first one. And so we got at least 3 instances of beating the viewer over the head with catcalling women on the street is evil, and you should probably get the shit out of me for it.
That was. Oh, you could tell the SJW stuff, the scenes, and what made me love Wonder Woman the first one. You didn't have none of that crap in the first movie.
Well, that's not true. There was definitely some of that.
It was subtle though. You didn't.
When the Indian guy said that he went to the front lines of war in Germany so he could escape oppression, it wasn't very subtle.
Yeah, it was kind of
ridiculous.
high rolling.
I'm gonna put it like this though. Whenever you see them pushing back movies months, years from the original date, you know it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck.
Well, that was because of the pandemic.
Nah, man, they could have dropped this movie in 2018, Wes.
So Dune's gonna suck.
Now, one thing.
One
thing that I did. One thing that they just missed horribly on in this is so Maxwell Lord wishes to become the genie, basically. So he gets all the power to grant wishes. But you never find out what his biggest thing that he has to give up is. You just kind of, he just starts getting sicker throughout the movie, and you don't figure out why. It's not like he really loved his health or anything, he held that above anything else. He just randomly starts getting sicker, and you kind of have to put that together. Like, wait, why is this guy getting, like, you don't know if he's not
here's the
getting
test.
sicker.
Fatal J, did you figure that out on your own?
What did I figure out?
What Doc is explaining right now.
No, it didn't make sense about.
There you go. It didn't make sense.
He turned into the genie, and everybody who made a wish lost something that was dear to them. He started losing his health, but like Doc said, they didn't explain his health was his number one thing in the movie.
Yeah, and you couldn't figure out whether or not he getting sicker because he needs more people, like an addict that needs more people to use wishes, or if he getting sicker because that was what he valued. You don't know, and I still don't know.
It would have made more sense if his son in the movie got sicker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like he started losing his son. So then after everything, and basically, once again, unlike the first movie, now this is something that this definitely reflects back on the fact that Jeff Johns was the one that forced the fight between Ares and Wonder Woman at the end of the first movie. Now, regardless of how that turned out, whatever, like having a big action scene as the end, this was definitely written by Patty Jenkins, because the way to beat the villain in this one was to make everyone else feel bad.
Oh my god!
I thought it was gonna be love.
I did not get that from this. I must be the odd manhunter out. I really enjoyed this film.
Oh, tell him, Skip and Tosh. Put him in the plate.
Dude, if you could change my mind, I mean, look, I love the first movie. I mean, I liked it better when it was called Captain America: The First Avenger.
I love the first movie.
Liked it.
I mean, I don't want to change anyone's mind. I mean, I'm cool if y'all feel how you feel about it. I just feel differently about it. I really
like. If
You got to answer this. Right? If you think Zack Snyder's so great, did you realize he's a producer of the film that you hate?
Zack Snyder's name is going to be on the next DC movies for the next 5 or 6 years, even if he has nothing to do with it.
He had his fingerprints are all over Wonder Woman 84.
Stan Lee
he was a part of Suicide Squad. And that's when he was a part of his name was on Suicide Squad, and he did
Justice League.
I'm telling you, Zack Snyder's name is going to be on a lot of these DC films coming out. That's what they do.
Particularly, he has his fingerprints all over it.
He had nothing to do with this movie, even though his name is on it.
He gets producer credits because it's all built off of Man of Steel. He will continue until they entirely reboot that universe and save nothing of what he did. He will continue.
I want Fatal J to admit Zack Snyder's thoughts right
he
right
could be
now.
dead, and they'd still be giving him.
Doc just explained it. His name gonna forever be on there as long as they use the actors.
All right. Well, Doc's got to still stop giving you outs. All right. Skip, what did you like about the movie?
So much about it. I really enjoyed the cinematography. And trust me, I had read or watched some reviews, like non-spoiler reviews from reviewers that I really trust, and normally our taste ends on about on the same side of the spectrum. But I always go and watch and read something for myself and see how I feel, because I may not feel the same way that they did. And outside of the movie being about 20 minutes too long, or maybe even 30 minutes too long, the runtime was a bit long. Everything else, I felt like it surprisingly flowed and everything very well. There were a few parts to me that stood out that I was like, that's a little too self-indulgent or too long. Like some of her dialogue at the end, or monologue, if you want to call it that, when she's talking to Maxwell Lord, some of it was just too long-winded. But I didn't feel like Kristen Wiig did all that bad. I feel like her character progression was a lot more natural than a lot of people thought.
I liked her.
Yeah.
I just hated the way they did Cheetah, like the design on her and that fight at the end. It was just poorly done.
Yeah, I liked her too, but they rushed her.
Seriously, as somebody that's supposed to be menacing.
Yeah, I mean, and
Russell.
she didn't come off as menacing, but she did come. I mean, I think the main thing, the real enemy of the whole story, if they're or something to overcome, because that's what you have to overcome, right? Is our desires and how our selfishness gets in the way and ultimately prevents us from really enjoying or respecting or honoring some of the things that are really important to us, like family and obviously truth was a really big part of it. And I felt like overall they did that pretty well. Of course, there were wish boxes and some other tropes and plot devices and whatnot that they spoke through, which just about all movies have them. Some just do it a little bit better than others. But all things considered, as much as I heard that this movie wasn't satisfying after watching it through, and I really felt some of like those emotional moments and stuff like that were really kind of magical, awe-inspiring moments. To me, it's funny. I hear a lot of conversation about people and how they feel about Marvel movies and them being so formulaic. And I see that. I just don't feel the same way. I still get the same enjoyment out of them. But I felt like this kind of, really was its own movie and didn't kind of fall, victim, if you will, to other people's success and other movies' formulas. And I felt like it stuck to what it wanted to say and what it wanted to purvey, like, very well. I wouldn't have made that Wonder Woman movie like that, but it makes sense to as someone who's watched a lot of Patty Jenkins stuff, as much content as she put out there, from directing TV shows to movies, Monster, and all that other stuff. I really appreciated what she had to say. I felt like she got her message across very well.
But Skip, I do like that message. I do like that message of the selfishness. I did enjoy that. That did go.
Let's come out on Zack Snyder then. Stop being selfish, Fatal J. Tell the truth about Zack Snyder and be honest with yourself in the panel.
Mr. Zack Snyder, I am sorry for
having a bad DCEU.
Mr. Zack Snyder, I'm sorry for West Defiance. I will handle him accordingly. Thank you so much.
Be honest with yourself.
He's
You
the
did
Do we need another?
You should get a room. Get a room.
Do we need another Zack Snyder debate part 2? Chat, let us know.
I want to join that one if y'all do. I want to join that one.
All right, well, I think we've hit Wonder Woman 84 enough. We got a little bit more comic book news, and it just so happens we have a lot of TMNT fans here. Let's give an update on The Last Ronin. And it's still Last Ronin #1. Definitely one of the highlights of my entire year as far as comic
best
book.
comic of the year, hands down.
All right. So, so Mark, I know you are a TMNT fan. You have your own website. You chronicled the entire timelines of TMNT from Mirage and all the way up to IDW to a certain point. Yeah. And we've seen The Last Ronin was already delayed. The Last Ronin 2 was already delayed. The Last Ronin 2 has been delayed.
But there's a director's cut coming out in January. Oh, boy.
You were killing my thunder.
Sorry.
But it is being delayed till February, and we are getting The Last Ronin #1 director's cut in the meantime. What do you think? Would you have preferred the director's cut to just come out the same week as the first one anyway?
I wasn't surprised. Sorry, I'm stepping on you. So I wasn't surprised because IDW, whenever they do a miniseries and it goes over really well, they almost always do a director's cut of the first issue. I mean, I've got a director's cut of TMNT Ghostbusters #1, a director's cut of Batman TMNT #1, where they show like the pencils and like extras from the script. So I mean, it's pretty standard for IDW. So I'm not surprised they're doing it. But it's just the timing of it, because issue 2 has been delayed so severely. It's coming across more like a stopgap measure, is to try and keep people from forgetting that that Last Ronin exists. And honestly, all the stuff that's in the director's cut editions, it's stuff that's going to be in a trade paperback collection anyway. So it's almost like they're just giving you the bonus features from the trade paperback isolated and early instead of making you wait, which doesn't mean a whole lot if you're somebody who normally waits for the trades on miniseries. For when it comes to Turtles and Ghostbusters and stuff, the books that I read for me, I don't wait for the trade. I collect them monthly, but I wait until I have all the individual issues and then I read them in one go. So Last Ronin, I'm waiting on that to read all together. I am interested in it. I'm a Mirage fan of Turtles, and once Peter Laird sold the Turtles to Viacom, he has the option to produce, I think, something like 12 Ninja Turtles comics a year under the Mirage label. He just has chosen not to exercise that right. I think he's only published 3 Ninja Turtles issues since selling to Viacom.
Well, I hope he hurry up because he's getting old.
I know. I think he just kind of doesn't care anymore. He's retired, and I don't know. I don't know what his deal is. It's his choice, but it also means
But
that
you can tell Kevin Eastman. You can tell Kevin Eastman still has that fire, a little bit of him. And I love Last Ronin for Kevin Eastman out of both of them, because we all know Kevin Eastman's story and what happened to him. I feel like Last Ronin is that last hoorah redemption story for him, and I think it's gonna work out.
Absolutely. I mean, I met Eastman, and Eastman's such a nice guy. He's still very passionate. I think what the difference between Laird's contemporary attitude towards Turtles and Eastman's is that they kind of switched places. Eastman left the Turtles behind in the 90s when he went on to do Tundra and then Heavy Metal in the 2000s.
Yeah,
so
Tundra messed him up. Tundra messed him up bad, man.
It decimated his finances as well. And I think I know that a lot of the stuff he's doing with Turtles now is kind of just because he needs money. I don't blame him for that, but he's still passionate about it. He still does all the conventions. I've gotten to meet him a couple times, but the difference is that he took a break from Turtles, and while he was taking a break, Laird was running Turtles. Now it's kind of Laird's turn to take a break, and Eastman's now the face of the Turtles again. It's like they're flip-flopping. So Laird got burned out. He even said so after doing that 2003 the 4 Kids cartoon and managing the CG movie and overseeing all these comics, that he was just so sick and tired of Ninja Turtles that's why he sold in 2009 in the first place. And Eastman took a big, long, extended break from Turtles, and so now he's back and he's ready to go all in on Turtles again because he's kind of had a rest from them. So we're kind of seeing Eastman's being on fire for the Turtles again, and I like a lot of what he does. I kind of feel like because he's in a situation where he can't really pick and choose what his name gets attached to, that I don't necessarily think he always approves personally.
You talking about Eastman?
That's done with the Turtle. Yeah, Eastman.
Because it's out of Eastman's hands, right? Because Lord got more. But Peter Lord, he got more percentage than because Eastman has 0.
Yeah. So what happened? Here's kind of the breakdown of what happened was when Eastman had gone away from the Turtles in the 90s and 2000s. Eastman and Laird still had 50-50 ownership of the Turtles, but Laird was the one who was running, the Turtles franchise. The problem was that he still had to get approval from Eastman for everything he did, for every script of the 2003 cartoon, for every draft of the 2007 movie, for every prototype of one of the new action figures from Playmates. It still had to be circuited through Eastman, and Eastman himself was kind of sick of doing that. He didn't really care about the Turtles at that point, and it was creating an extra hurdle for Laird to get stuff done. So Laird bought Eastman out for his half of Turtles. So Laird became the 100% owner of the Ninja Turtles intellectual property, which he then sold to Viacom in 2009 for a boatload of cash, which Eastman didn't get any of. So Eastman kind of
Eastman. I don't mean to cut you off, but I know that hurt Eastman because when everybody is dead from this planet and we still have media, if we have media and TV, the Turtles will still be on the screen.
Yep, it's a perennial property.
That's something that's going to go on with their grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So I know he's kicking himself in the butt for that one.
Yeah, and I think it's good that even if maybe he's not making the most money right now on Turtle stuff, I think the fact that he's still involved is kind of reminding everybody, like, this is his claim to fame, this is his legacy, is Turtles. He co-created it, and everyone's going to know Kevin Eastman was a part of Turtles. Like I said, when you pick up an issue of the IDW Ninja Turtles comic, like the ongoing series that's on like issue 111 now, it'll always say like plot by Bobby Curnow, Tom Waltz, and Kevin Eastman. And I don't think Kevin Eastman is actually contributing to the plots at all. I think they're just kind of putting his name on there so it legitimizes what they're doing. Like, hey, everybody, Kevin Eastman approves of this terrible mutant town storyline we're doing, so you can't complain about it and say it's bad. I kind of think they're using his name as a shield. He doesn't really.
I like that though, bro, because that's still just a sign of respect. Yeah, it's a sign of respect.
So when they put,
it's definitely kind of like
on a bad movie as a producer.
Yeah, right. Well, it's kind of like putting you take a comic and it says like in every credit says Batman created by Bob Kane and now Bill Finger. They finally got his name added on there. It's not like Bill Finger knows what's going on with Batman right now. He's long dead, but you have his name on there and you have his respect. You have his epitaph saying Bill Finger co-created Batman. Like that's his legacy, and you can never take that away from him again.
Like when they put Christopher Nolan on Man of Steel, so you think, oh, it's going to be good like his Dark Knight trilogy.
Hey, so I want to ask you a question, my friend. I want to ask you a question. Do you think Last Ronin would turn into something animated or something live action? Or do you think that's too hardcore for Nickelodeon and Viacom to do?
I think I want Nickelodeon. I think that maybe, just maybe, they're starting to stretch out with the demographic of Ninja Turtles. Because when they first got Turtles, they were going all in on the kid stuff. But they did that Batman TMNT animated movie that loosely adapted the miniseries that they put out with DC, and there were people getting killed in that one, and there was blood.
Right.
I know something. I know something. I know something going on.
Okay, let us know, my brother.
HBO Max is going to be doing something with Turtles. So
that's a good sign.
Keep your eyes open. I did find out about that about a week ago.
I mean,
so
it doesn't.
I had been saving that to kind of talk about on Aficionados. So
and that's the thing is, it doesn't need to be blood and guts rated R TMNT. I don't need to see. The Mirage comic could get pretty violent. I don't necessarily expect decapitations and geyses of blood from people, but I would like to see something a bit more PG-13 than the Nickelodeon stuff.
No, but you hit on something. That Batman's Ninja Turtles mashup, that was violent.
It was
and bloody.
And I want to see more of that. I think they were testing the waters with that.
Yeah, it's hope for Last Ronin. Ronin to be violent or close to rated R.
But the HBO Max is working on a series, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Wait, are they really?
Yep.
Oh.
Well, it could just be that Viacom, I know they weren't satisfied with Rise of Ninja Turtles, the latest Nickelodeon show. They didn't really like the way it performed. They didn't treat it very well. They had that thing that Nickelodeon always does where they shift the episodes around, the air dates, and no one can follow it, and that kind of like sabotages its own ratings. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But they weren't. They were very disappointed with Rise of TMNT for one reason or another. So I think they're a bit more eager now to experiment with Turtles and try aiming them at a different demographic, an older demographic, like what they did with the Batman TMNT movie, and like what you're saying, trying something out on HBO Max. So we may actually get to see them, spreading their wings out a bit more and trying different things, which I'm looking forward to.
Well, you hope the success of the comic book and all the interest and the enormous sales that it was able to garner, shows them that the audience is there. People do want a more serious adult take on the characters.
Which is funny because that's not what the IDW comic is doing. The IDW comic had been doing that, and now it's just this stupid Mutant Town crap with, Jenica's getting a band together, but she needs to find a new keyboardist. I go, okay, well, the comic is now...
They opened up a soup kitchen.
They open up a soup kitchen in Mutant Town. It's all
I'm not joking.
Comedy stuff.
That's the series now.
Jenica
opened up a soup kitchen, and none of the turtles talk to each other because they're sad.
It's weird. It's like for a while when Viacom had like the Playmate stuff, like the cartoons were very kid oriented, but the IDW comic was getting more mature and more graphic. Now that the cartoons are getting more mature and more graphic, the IDW comic is getting kiddier and simplified. It's like you can't have both at the same time.
Yeah. So normally we would end the stream about this time, but we did have a couple of late arrivals here, and I want to talk to them about some of the stuff we talked about at the end. So I don't know if anybody wants to cut out now. I completely understand, but we are going to go about 30 minutes extra today. Extra long.
Hey, and Wes, I'm your little helper.
Yeah,
I'm your little helper today, so you got to stretch it out a little bit, okay?
Yeah, we're going to give it an extra 30 minutes. I've already got my work done that I would have normally been doing after the show completed. So I got some extra time, and I don't know. Let's go back in time. Let's go back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show.
Hold on, before I do that, I'm gonna cut out. I'm gonna get some work done while I can, while the wife is at work. So I'm gonna wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and thank you for
Christmas,
having me on the show. Thank you guys so much.
Merry Christmas.
I gotta get my pages written on Black Ops Common America, so I'm gonna have to dip out too.
Hold on, man. Hey, can you find me on Twitter, the Ninja Turtle Man? because I'm big into Ninja Turtles too, and I want to check
Yeah,
out your website.
What's your handle?
At Fatal J Show.
Fatal.
Find me and message me because I want to check out your Ninja Turtle website, please.
Yeah, it's I haven't. Oh, there you go. Fatal
Anal
Show.
J
Let me
Show.
get you a follow. Yeah. Okay. So it's called TMNT Entity. If you just Google that, you'll find it. I haven't updated it in 2 years because once I started writing professionally and getting paid for writing, I didn't have time to write for my site, so it's a bit out of date. But if you ever want to read summaries and stuff on all the Mirage stuff, I did complete all that and all the Archie stuff and miscellanea. You'll find it on there.
Okay, thank you, man.
Hey, have a good one, guys. Merry Christmas.
You too, Mark. Merry Christmas.
Take care, Mark.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning. There's some stuff we talked about. I want to get Fatal J, and I want to get Skip and Tasha's take on this. Fatal J, I know what your answer is going to be. We were just talking about it. What was your favorite comic of 2020?
You already know. I just said it. I already said it. Last
What's
Ronin.
your second favorite?
Well, I'm gonna put like this. The reason why Last Ronin is mine. First off, like my friend that just left, I've been a Ninja Turtle fan since I was 4 years old, 5 years old. You can check the pictures in my room. My whole room was just decked out full of turtles. I've read a lot of comic books, especially with Ninja Turtles in them. I love the Secret of the Foot. I love Shredder Goes to Hell. That's one of my favorites, but this one right here blew my mind away. It gave me that feeling I haven't had in comics in a long time. When I opened up books from the 90s, it was just pure action, great art, great story, and that's a rarity these days. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm enjoying what's going on in the direction of, dare I say his name, The Last Ronin? Can I say it?
Yeah,
Y'all want me to say it? Michelangelo, that is so dope. We getting some deep characterizations with Michelangelo. I want to see where that goes. I am fully invested in this. If they come out with merchandise, I'm buying it. Action figures, I'm buying it. I never felt this deep this way about a comic book in a long time. So that's why I'm really digging Last Ronin. What's my second favorite comic of this year?
Let's hear it.
Dang, that's a hard one, man. You can't put me on the spot like that.
Is it Ninja Jump? What is it? I'm sorry, Ninja Slam?
No, man.
That's your comic book.
Oh, okay. No, man, that ain't my comic book, man. Don't look. My comic is called Ninja Blast. It's coming out in 2021, and it's gonna be one of the dopest. I promise you. I understand how to make comics, but I'm not here to plug myself. I would have to say, the Carnage, Absolute Carnage. Absolute Carnage.
Kind of true. Yeah, I think it did it in 2020. All right, Skip. What is your favorite comic of 2020?
Ooh, it's a rough toss up between these two, but that's my number 0 comic. It was the best ever. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I only bought one issue of something that Jonathan Hickman had something to do with. That was depressing. I'm gonna go with. Even though technically it came out in 2019 as a hardcover with additional scenes and pages and some changes, I'm going to say Bad Weekend by Ed Brubaker, Sean and Jacob Phillips creative team. It's literally a love letter to everybody who participates in comics, from the comic creators to everybody, the editors, to us who buy the comics. I mean, if chances are, if you're a comic artist, you probably buy comics too, right? So it's just a love letter to everyone. Maybe not the best comic out of all of them, but I'm gonna say my favorite comic.
Bad Weekend was excellent. Love that.
Yeah, Bad Weekend was great. And then the other one that I was gonna toss it up between is Coffin Bound. By Dan Waters, the writer, Danny, the artist, and my homie Brad Simpson as the color artist. I did not expect. I don't know what I expected when I bought it to support Brad. I just have a habit of just trying to like put money into the comic industry to keep it going because I budget for it, and I was just trying to be supportive of a homie. And I stepped into that thing, and it's some of the most profound writing I've found in comics all year, easily. I found myself like rereading issues that I'd buy over and over again because they'd have these themes paired with these visuals that just spoke way outside of what I think majority of the people were saying in comics, or maybe even in life, even in some other literature like books that I read that don't have any illustrations in them. It was just some of the most profound, like gripping stuff. So I would say, it'd be between those. And then if I had to pick a third, I'm going to go ahead and go back to Brubaker and Phillips and go with Pulp.
We doing second favorites? Because I got a second favorite here.
Okay.
I was just going to say, Deceased. The comics and the comics related to Deceased. That was my biggest surprise of the year. That I would love that series so much, considering I don't like Tom Taylor. I don't like his in continuity cape stuff. I don't care for his other writing, especially not at Marvel. I'm not really fond of a lot of his stuff at DC. That blew my mind. It was just so amazing, and the whole, oh wow! If you've not read it, jump on it, get it. It's fantastic. That man knows zombies. He does great zombies.
I almost picked it up, but it's different. Deceased, right? It's like different, like spin-offs.
There's Deceased Unkillables, which is like kind of a prequel. Then there's Deceased Dead Planet, which is the sequel. Then there's also Deceased Hope at the End of the World, which is kind of like in the middle of the original Deceased. It can be complicated,
but it's all good. It's all great. I've so much enjoyed that series all year long. So
definitely one of my biggest surprises. I wasn't expecting much from Deceased. I love it. Definitely enjoying the sequel as well. Now let's get to the negative stuff. All right, Skip. We know what you love. Like, I mean, Jimmy had heard enough about Coffin Bound. I didn't even hear any Nick Dragotta there. I was shocked. But what didn't you love in 2020?
Ooh, what didn't I love in 2020? I got some of those comics around. Did Event Leviathan? Did that come out this year?
I don't think so.
No, not the one with.
Somebody's vaping.
Yeah, somebody.
For somebody, it did.
Man, I you know what? Let me. I have to go over to my pile real quick.
Leviathan sequel that was supposed to come out this year, but they mysteriously forgot about it.
I can tell you mine if I want one.
Yeah. Jump over to Fatal J. I'm gonna go over to my do not read pile.
I'm going to hit y'all with the hard one, and y'all gonna hate Fatal J for the rest of his life. And
I already hate Fatal J.
Because
fine.
When you have a body like mine, you are happy with yourself and confident. So I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. Here you go. Death Metal.
Okay, yeah, I don't like Death Metal that much.
I agree with you.
Come on, bro. They had a Batman truck talking, bro. And to me, I'm sorry, Greg Capullo is one of the dopest artists known to man, but that was a waste of an artist to me. Drawing all that stupid stuff, everything is Batman, everything is Superman, a TV talking, that's Superman talking, that's a different version of Superman. Then the villain, the Batman that grins or whatever his name, he turned into
There's a living castle that's also Batman.
Death Metal sucks. The SP was poor. It was whack.
I agree. I'm not a big fan. And all the tie-ins it's really confusing on what you actually need to read and what you don't need to read.
Yeah, man, that's too much.
It started out with the best of intentions and just got bad.
It started off good. It did.
Yeah.
But
Scott Snyder's got that problem where he always has to one-up himself. So when he goes so big, like in Dark Knight's Metal, and he has to go bigger, it's like eventually you go too big.
I give Scott Snyder. He came out with Quarter Owls. That's one of the dopest Batman. That's like forever top 10 best Batman stories. But this crap here, no sir.
Yeah, the launch of the new 52 Batman, I think, still goes down as one of the best Batman series of all time.
Yeah.
But it went downhill from there.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of his Black Mirror, which obviously got him the gig writing Batman. So absolutely.
All right, I got my books.
Let's do it, Skip.
All right, so it wasn't Event Leviathan. My bad. It was Leviathan Dawn.
Yes.
So Leviathan Dawn, it came out in February, and that was just it was a snooze fest. I didn't realize I was asleep till I got to the end of the book, and I was like, did I just read this? Yeah. I didn't even remember what happened. There was no more pages, and I was like, okay, what just happened? I had no idea.
Good morning.
You got Bendis. You wake up and you're like, I read a comic book.
Yeah, you know how people talk about the itis when you eat some really good food and you got to take a nap. I got the Bendis. I read a really bad comic and I was asleep. I didn't realize. The other one, honorable mention, I'll say, is is it The Adventures of Adam Strange or Strange Adventures? My bad. I read it and I didn't buy it. I read. I've learned a lesson. I pay good money when I go to my comic shop. So when I go in there and I like read comics in there, yeah, they don't trip. So I read all my Tom King books at my comic shop. I read that and oh my gosh, I was just like, what is this? I think I read up to issue number 3. And it was just ridiculous and disgusting. Goes back to what we were talking about earlier about how people just don't know how, like, not all of them, but so many writers just don't know how to just allow people to be heroic and do reconstruction. If you're going to do any kind of deconstruction, you build them back up. Tom King just tanks everybody. But number one worst comic though that I read all year was whatever the heck they call this Exo Manowar comic that they put out. After reading Venditti's as hopeless, that's what it should be called. It should be called N.O. Man of War. No, don't buy this.
I don't know what's going on with Valiant though. They used to be so dope, and then they all over the place these days.
Fatal J, you about to open up a can of worms. You know that was a trigger to Wes. You know it. Like just like when Wes brings up Scott Snyder, that's a trigger to you. You bring up Valiant, and that's a trigger to Wes.
It's the chief creative officer, owner, and then the editor in chief were forced out by DMG Entertainment, and it's gone to shit ever since.
Yeah, man, it's sad, man, because they got dope characters. That's a dope universe. Awesome. Yeah,
especially the Robert Venditti.
Jim Shooter, this is just for me, but didn't Jim Shooter create that universe back in the day?
Yes.
Yeah, Jim Shooter was the man, even though
he lost out on buying Marvel, he created Valiant.
Yeah, he set up an amazing universe, and now it's over.
It is over.
It's over.
And the movie sucked too. I tried to watch Bloodshot. It's not very good.
Oh, it sucked. Well, you're the Vin Diesel fan. Vin Diesel is the best of all time. That's you.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Vin Diesel and The Rock is like your deities, man. Don't try to play me. We had
Vin Diesel cannot hold The Rock's jockstrap.
Didn't you tell me that Vin Diesel wins? He boosts up franchises like The Rock. You told me that.
I said they think that he does, but he hasn't had a franchise other than Fast and the Furious for 20 years.
Well, he did have the spy movies too.
Riddick.
Well, Riddick was good. I got to give it to that. Riddick was good.
Yeah, Pitch Black was good. The sequels, none of them made money.
Yeah.
When I say franchise, I mean making money.
I'm not a Vin Diesel fan. I'm just saying. I thought you was a Vin Diesel fan. If not, I'm sorry.
He can play a tree good. How's that?
Yeah.
I liked him in Saving Private Ryan. How's that?
Oh, Boiler Room. I forgot he was in that one.
Boiler Room.
What was that movie where he was supposed to be like
Wall Street's a superior version of the film.
What was that movie where he was supposed to be like a James Bond spy but more hill?
Triple X.
What?
That
was a fine movie. That was perfectly good.
The movie sucked, man. And then Ice Cube tried to be a James Bond Triple X.
That's because you don't like the X Games. You don't get what it was about.
Hey, no, man.
You're not in the lifestyle, Jay.
I still have headcanon that Fast and the Furious, G.I. Joe, and Triple X all exist in the same universe.
Hey.
And that Triple X is pre or post Fast and Furious for Vin Diesel, and and G.I. Joe is future of fucking Rocks and Fast and Furious.
Well, Doc, that must be the cheesy universe you talking about. Because there was some cheesy movies.
Fast and Furious?
Yeah, because he's Hobbs in the Fast and Furious, and then he becomes Roadblock. That becomes
that's right. They were the same character. That was the same character.
They basically are the same character, and
it's weird. Jimmy says Rorschach's a bad comic book. I think it's perfectly fine.
I need to read that.
Probably not. It's Tom King. Once he gets to issue 5, he's going to destroy something. That's what he's
What's up,
doing.
Comic Crush?
Yeah, you know the cliff is coming. It's a King book. I continue. That's one of the books I continue to read. I am just fascinated by just how empty. Like if it, I will say, and I know some people don't. Well, I was going to say the comic book. I don't think anybody's surprised about how empty Tom King's soul is. You crack open Tom King's soul and there's a mommy wife inside yelling at you.
Whoa,
They don't like you, but I'll take care of you and I'll take care of them. There's a mommy wife inside of Tom King's soul. We all know that. But no, just how empty it was. If it wasn't for Jorge Fornes' art, and I know not everybody loves Jorge Fornes, but I think Jorge Fornes is a consummate professional and does very solid, especially his sequential art is very solid. But if it wasn't for that book literally wouldn't be worth the cheap paper that is that it's printed on and the ink drips off of.
I'm curious where it's going. I can't figure it out. Like, how is this a Rorschach story other than he's wearing the mask?
Well, we already know, I mean, for anybody who's reading it, we already know that the lady, his lady friend, is going to somehow end up being the hero of the old fart, wannabe Rorschach crazy guy. Oh gosh, that book is
They're both dead.
I know, but she's going to be the heroic one, is what I'm saying. She's going to be the one, like, when it's all said and done, she's going to look like the hero. Well, yeah, I'm just saying. Well, of course, it's a Tom King book. Of course, they're terrorists.
Like, I'm reading it out of curiosity now. It's not as bad as some of his other stuff.
Yeah, not yet. I do agree with you, but
I'm shocked. Quirks hates it already, and he hasn't even done the bad part.
Hey, I want to ask you a quick question. Was that Doomsday clock pretty good with the Watchmen and Superman and all them in there?
I liked it.
Okay,
yeah.
Awesome.
I got to finish reading that then.
Yeah,
One of the best.
I didn't think it was going to be possible.
That I remember.
Okay, because I didn't think it was going to be possible having Watchmen in the DC universe like that. But okay,
no, Tom King, Jeff Johns.
Yeah,
he worked it out. That one's excellent.
Oh yeah, respect to Jeff Johns in the comic books and the movies. Yeah.
Listen, he wasn't anchored down by Zack Snyder as his lead producer and everything. He probably get something done with the characters.
Hey, people in the chat, get ready for the 2021 Part 2 debate. Zack Snyder's debate is coming.
You don't want that verbal beating again. You already made yourself look like a fool for at least 2,000 people.
Your own crowd was saying you was losing.
Listen, all of your jabrones from your channel came over and flooded the comments.
Yeah, I brought my goons. I brought my squad. Yes, I did.
You brought the whack Snyder crew with you, Fatal J.
Fatal J's jabronis.
Skip was my boy. Skip on the.
I'm your boy, but I ain't Zack Snyder's boy.
That man cannot direct a movie. He can do really amazing music videos. Unfortunately, sometimes they're an hour and a half or 2 hours long.
Comic Course, is you on my side? You're a Snyder fan, right? I'm on your side, bro. Okay, he said he on my side. We might need to do a 2-on-2 battle. This gonna be a tag team match.
I'm with it because me and Comic Clerks, we always go back and forth. We should do a tag team stomp. Let's go.
Jeez. I have no problems.
Let's do a tag team match.
Look foolish on my channel. I've already proved it multiple times.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, I guess we got our 30-minute bonus time in, and we went a little long today, but it is the holiday season. We're having good things happening here on the channel. We're finally monetized again. That was all fixed up and all that stuff. I actually have a pretty big announcement. Some of these guys on the panel know about this, but not everybody does. It's going to be on a video called Wes and Perch Survived 2020, What Now? And I do give some details in that video. So if you're interested in the channel, not only that, but what Perch and I have been through in the year, we kind of go over it all in that. So I highly suggest you watch that. I think you'll enjoy it. And I don't know. I guess that'll basically do the video. What? Never mind. We've got a signing off. Super chat from Kenneth Dowling, $5. Happy holidays, fellas. Love the Martin t-shirt. Skip. Best comedy ever.
What up, Kenneth? He be on my stream sometimes.
That's why I don't understand the all black Friends. We already had it. It was Martin, and it was a lot better.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, Martin will never be topped. Martin will never be topped.
Yeah.
And
it's
characters.
Martin Manhunter. Just to really take it there for everyone. It's Martin Manhunter. Yeah.
So I guess thank you so much for Kenneth Dowling for supporting the channel, and I'm very blessed and thankful that we got things kind of sorted out and moving in a positive direction. Time to sign off. Fatal Jade, is there anything else you wanted to say before we wrap this up today? Thank you so much for joining the channel or the show.
Man.
Even if it was a little bit late.
I just want to be outside the comments. I'm just thankful to meet some cool friends for the 2020. Man, it's been a great time rocking with Wes and Doc and Pele and now Skip and people in the chat. Here's to a more successful year for 2021. And I'm glad, Wes, it seemed like it was perfect timing. Right before the year is up, you got monetized again. So that's awesome, man. So,
That's awesome.
It's his Christmas
Yeah.
present from YouTube to give him
Yeah.
his own money.
So
Glad
peace and
it got
love.
worked out.
Peace and love to everybody. Everybody be safe. Everybody be successful. Read more comics. And that's it from Fatal J.
All right, guys. Peace.
All right,
Wash
so
your ass.
Pele, we're not done yet. Pele, you have anything to say? You are the curmudgeon critical. This is your last time speaking on the channel in 2020.
Oh, God. Read good comics, people. Go out and read good comics. Ignore the bad comics. Support your local comic book store, especially now more than ever. And I'm telling you now, back issues will be huge in 2021. As long as the economy is dipping, collectibles will be huge. So stay on it. Keep buying.
All About the Books is asking for Fatal J's Twitter. It's at Anal J Show.
Oh,
Messed up, man. That's messed up, man. I posted it in the chat, everybody.
Oh, it's my bad. It's at Fatal J Show. My bad. All right,
Fatal
Doc.
J Show.
Do you have anything to say before we sign off for 2020 here on the Comics Aficionados? Nope, Doc's already gone.
Oh no, I'm here. Oh, I didn't hear you say Doc.
I said Doc.
Oh, I didn't hear you. I thought you were. Never mind.
what you got to say?
Yay. Comment.
Okay.
I hope 2021's comics don't suck nearly as bad as 2020's.
Amen.
Well, there you go. That's very optimistic outlook. Skip, thank you for coming back on the channel. You'll be on soon enough. I know when we do the 10K live stream, you'll definitely be on the panel, and I can't wait for that one. Where some of these guys will be on there too. You got anything else you want to say to the viewers before we sign off the Comics Aficionados for 2020 and head into 2021?
Absolutely, yeah. Pele said some of it. Continue to support your local comic shop. Definitely continue to find comics that you like outside of even the norm of what you read. There's plenty of good stories out there, and just continue to come together and be supportive of one another. Just so we can make this comics world and this comics community, a better place. And big shout out to my homie Wes. It's literally been beautiful to see the channel grow. I remember there was like right before you got to 1K, you know what I mean? And then now look, tenfold the channel has grown, and it's just a testament to your love for comics and also how much of a machine you are. I'm still convinced you don't sleep more than like 15 minutes a day. You're gonna have to prove me wrong otherwise, but
I believe that too.
But thanks for bringing this all together, because I've met so many people outside of just you and you being a great friend and brother. So many other people that I met have just been awesome. Docs and Pele's and Fatal J's and Comic Quirks and everybody. So and so many people in the chat too. So thanks for supporting the channel, y'all. Absolutely.
And I do want to say one last time, send some thoughts and prayers and good vibes out to Jimmy from Comic Quirks. He's in the chat right now, but he had a little situation going on, and he could use the positivity. He could use the prayers, and we're definitely praying for you and your family here.
We got
And,
you, Jimmy.
hopefully
Jimmy,
we'll
I
have you
just
back
added
on the channel again.
I just added you, Jimmy. Now let's do some damage.
Absolutely. So thank you all so much for joining. We got a little extra time here today. Really enjoyed the panel, and I will see you all on Comics Aficionados in 2021.
And wash your